When CEO Olivia Vale pointed her finger across the warehouse floor and called Nathan Hayes a thief in front of 300 workers, she destroyed more than his reputation. She shattered the last fragile piece of hope a widowed father had left. Nathan stood frozen while his 7-year-old daughter Emma watched from the visitor area, tears streaming down her face as security escorted her daddy away. He could have fought back. He could have screamed the truth. But Nathan Hayes had learned long ago that sometimes the cruelest thing about injustice isn't the lie itself. It's knowing that nobody with power will ever listen. This is their story. Follow it to the end, hit that like button, and comment your city so I can see how far this journey travels. The fluorescent lights inside Veil Line Logistics Warehouse 7 buzzed with the same mechanical rhythm they'd maintained for the past 11 years. Nathan Hayes barely noticed anymore. At 32, he'd developed the particular skill of moving through 12-hour night shifts without actually being present in his own body. Scan the barcode, load the pallet, move to the next zone. Repeat until dawn broke over the industrial park and he could drive home to Emma. Tonight felt different, though. Nathan couldn't shake the tension crawling up his spine as he maneuvered his forklift down the main aisle. Other workers seemed nervous too, whispering in clusters during their breaks, glancing toward the management offices like something bad was coming. "You hear about the inventory audit?" Marcus Chen appeared beside Nathan's forklift, his safety vest reflecting the harsh overhead lights. Nathan killed the engine. "What audit?" "Corporate's been here all week. Word is they're missing serious money. Equipment, parts, whole pallets just vanished." Marcus lowered his voice. "They're looking for someone to blame." Nathan's stomach tightened. He'd worked night shift for 7 years without a single write-up. Showed up early, left late, never complained when they cut his hours or denied his promotion requests. After his wife Sarah died, this job became the only stable thing keeping him and Emma afloat. "Keep your head down," Marcus said, patting Nathan's shoulder. "Storm's coming." The storm arrived 3 hours later. Nathan was restocking Zone 12 when the warehouse PA system crackled to life. "All personnel report to the main floor immediately. This is mandatory." The word sent ice through Nathan's veins. Mandatory gatherings only happen for safety violations or terminations. He parked his forklift and joined the stream of confused workers flowing toward the central staging area. Under the massive Veil Line Logistics banner, someone had erected a temporary platform. That's when Nathan saw her for the first time. Olivia Vale stood on the platform like a queen addressing her subjects. At 30, she'd inherited Veil Line from her father 18 months ago, though most employees had never seen her outside glossy company newsletters. Tonight she wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Nathan's monthly rent, her dark hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. Everything about her screamed control, the rigid posture, the cold eyes scanning the crowd, the way she held silence like a weapon. "Thank you for gathering on such short notice." Her voice carried across the warehouse without warmth. "I'll keep this brief because I know you're all eager to return to work." Nathan stood near the back, trying to blend into the crowd. He'd left Emma with Mrs. Rodriguez next door, promising he'd be home by 8 a.m. like always. The babysitter charged extra for late pickups, money he couldn't afford to waste. Veil Line Logistics built its reputation on trust and integrity. Olivia's words echoed off the metal rafters. "For 11 years, our clients have relied on us to secure and transport their most valuable inventory. That trust is our foundation." Something in her tone made Nathan's pulse quicken. "Which is why what I'm about to share devastates me personally." Olivia paused, letting tension build. "Over the past 6 months, this facility has lost approximately $400,000 worth of client inventory, electronics, medical supplies, industrial equipment. Gone." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. 400,000. The number was staggering. Our forensic audit traced the thefts to one individual. Olivia's gaze swept across the workers, and Nathan felt himself shrinking backward. "One person who violated your trust, my trust, and the trust of every client we serve." Nathan's foreman, Caleb Mercer, emerged from the shadows near the platform. Caleb had supervised night shift for 3 years. A bitter man in his 40s who seemed to resent everyone who worked under him. Tonight, his expression was stone. "Nathan Hayes, step forward." The words didn't register at first. Nathan thought he'd misheard over the blood pounding in his ears. "Nathan Hayes," Olivia repeated, her voice cutting through the shocked silence. "Come to the platform, now!" 300 faces turned toward Nathan. He felt his legs moving before his brain caught up, carrying him through a crowd that parted like he carried disease. This had to be a mistake. Some terrible confusion he could clear up if someone just listened. "Ms. Vale, I haven't—" The words tangled in Nathan's throat as he reached the platform. Olivia looked down at him with absolute certainty. "Mr. Hayes, our investigation has produced conclusive evidence that you've been systematically stealing high-value inventory and selling it through secondary markets. The security footage, access logs, and financial records all point to you." "That's not true." Nathan's voice came out weak, almost pleading. "I would never— We have your fingerprints on restricted storage units." Olivia's tone remained flat, reciting facts. "We have documentation showing you accessed inventory systems during hours you weren't scheduled to work. We have your forklift recorded in security zones you had no authorization to enter." Nathan shook his head, trying to form coherent arguments, but panic was stealing his ability to think. "Someone made a mistake. I don't even know how to access those systems." "Enough!" Olivia held up one hand. "Caleb, show them." Caleb Mercer stepped forward holding a tablet. He tapped the screen and a projection appeared on the wall behind Olivia. Grainy security footage showing someone in a veil line uniform loading boxes onto a pallet. The timestamp read 2:47 a.m. The figure moved with Nathan's build, wore Nathan's ID badge. But Nathan had been in Zone 12 that night. He remembered because Emma had been sick with a fever, and he'd called home 3 times to check on her. "I wasn't there," Nathan said, his voice rising. "That's not me. Your badge accessed the security door at 2:43 a.m. Olivia's words landed like hammer blows. "Your fingerprints are on the inventory scanner. Your employment records show multiple financial hardships, late rent payments, utility shutoffs, mounting credit card debt." The crowd murmured. Nathan felt their judgment pressing against him from all sides. "You're a single father with a young daughter," Olivia continued. "I understand financial pressure. I even sympathize. But that doesn't justify theft on this scale." "I didn't steal anything!" Nathan's shout echoed across the warehouse. "Please, just let me explain. Security. Escort Mr. Hayes from the premises. His employment is terminated effective immediately." 2 guards appeared at Nathan's elbows. He wanted to fight, to scream, to make someone listen, but then he saw movement near the visitor entrance. Emma. His 7-year-old daughter stood behind the safety barrier, her small face pressed against the chain-link fence. Mrs. Rodriguez must have brought her when Nathan didn't come home on time. Emma wore her favorite purple jacket, the one Sarah had bought her before the accident, and her eyes were wide with confusion and fear. Nathan watched his daughter's expression crumble as the security guards grabbed his arms. Tears spilled down Emma's cheeks. She didn't understand the words or accusations, but she understood her daddy was being hurt, humiliated in front of hundreds of strangers. Everything in Nathan wanted to shout his innocence, to fight these guards, to demand justice. But Emma was watching. If he made this uglier, if he turned this into a violent confrontation, she'd carry that memory forever. She'd already lost her mother to a drunk driver 2 years ago. She didn't need to watch her father dragged away like a criminal. So Nathan Hayes did the hardest thing he'd ever done. He stopped fighting. "It's okay, baby," Nathan called to Emma, forcing his voice steady even as the guards marched him toward the exit. "It's just a mistake. Everything's okay." But Emma was screaming now, her small voice breaking as she called for her daddy. Mrs. Rodriguez tried to comfort her, but Emma pulled away, pressing herself against the fence. The last thing Nathan saw before the guard shoved him through the exit was Olivia Vale standing on her platform, unmoved, watching his daughter cry without a flicker of emotion crossing her perfect, cold face. The drive home passed in a blur. Mrs. Rodriguez had taken Emma back to her apartment, probably trying to calm the hysterical child with cookies and cartoons. Nathan sat in his beat-up Honda Civic in the Veil Line parking lot for 20 minutes, hands shaking too badly to put the key in the ignition. $400,000. The number was absurd. Nathan barely cleared $30,000 a year after taxes. He drove a car with 200,000 miles on it. His apartment had water stains on the ceiling and a landlord who threatened eviction every time rent came 3 days late. Someone had set him up. But who? And why? Nathan's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Your final paycheck will be mailed. Do not attempt to contact Veil Line employees or enter company property. Legal action may follow. Legal action. The words made Nathan's chest constrict. Could they actually press charges? Send him to prison? What would happen to Emma if he went to jail? When he finally made it to Mrs. Rodriguez's apartment, he found Emma curled up on the couch, her face blotchy from crying. She looked up when he entered, and Nathan saw something in her eyes he'd never wanted to see. Doubt. Not doubt in him exactly, but doubt that the world was safe, that adults could protect her, that tomorrow would be okay. Hey, sunshine. Nathan knelt beside the couch, brushing hair from Emma's face. I'm sorry you had to see that. Why were those men hurting you? Emma's voice was small. They weren't hurting me. They were just confused about something that happened at work. But everyone was looking at you like you did something bad. Nathan pulled his daughter into his arms, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. Sometimes people make mistakes, Em. Sometimes they think things that aren't true. But the truth always comes out eventually. Did you take things that weren't yours? The question hit Nathan like a physical blow. His 7-year-old daughter was asking if her father was a thief. No, baby, I would never do that. Someone made a very big mistake, but I promise you, I promise, I didn't do anything wrong. Emma studied his face with those serious dark eyes she'd inherited from Sarah. After a long moment, she nodded. Okay, I believe you. Those 3 words nearly broke Nathan. I believe you. His daughter's faith felt like the only clean thing left in the world. Mrs. Rodriguez appeared in the doorway, her expression heavy with pity. Nathan, I'm so sorry, but I can't watch Emma tomorrow. My sister's having surgery and… It's fine, Nathan said quickly. I understand. He understood more than just the canceled babysitting. He understood that word would spread through the neighborhood by morning. The single dad in apartment 2B was a thief. Keep your kids away. Lock your door. Within days, he'd be a pariah. After collecting Emma's backpack and thanking Mrs. Rodriguez, Nathan drove home in silence. Emma fell asleep in the back seat, exhausted from crying. Nathan carried her up the stairs to their second-floor apartment, past the broken elevator and the graffiti-tagged walls. Inside, he tucked Emma into bed without waking her. Her room was small but filled with love. Drawings taped to the walls, stuffed animals arranged on shelves, a framed photo of Sarah on the nightstand. Nathan had kept his late wife's memory alive for Emma through bedtime stories about Mommy, through holidays at Sarah's parents' house, through the 1,000 small ways he refused to let grief erase the woman he'd loved. But tonight, staring at Sarah's photograph in the dim light, Nathan felt himself breaking. I don't know what to do, he whispered to the picture. I don't know how to fix this. Sarah smiled back at him, frozen forever at 29, before the pickup truck ran the red light, before cancer took her mother, before life revealed its capacity for random, senseless cruelty. Nathan walked to the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. 1/2 gallon of milk, some lunch meat that might be expired, eggs. He'd planned to buy groceries after his shift. Now he had maybe $40 in his checking account and no idea where his next paycheck would come from. His phone buzzed again. This time it was an email from Veil Line's legal department outlining his termination and warning that criminal charges were under consideration pending further investigation. Criminal charges. Nathan closed his eyes and tried to breathe through the panic. He'd never even gotten a speeding ticket. Now they were threatening him with prison time for a crime he didn't commit. The logical part of his brain knew he should call a lawyer, but lawyers cost money he didn't have. The public defender's office wouldn't help unless he was actually arrested. He was trapped in a nightmare with no clear path forward. Nathan spent the rest of the night on his laptop searching for answers. He found articles about wrongful termination lawsuits, but every attorney's website mentioned retainer fees and court costs that might as well have been written in another language. $5,000 just to file. $10,000 for basic representation. More if it went to trial. By the time dawn broke over the apartment complex, Nathan had accomplished nothing except confirming his own helplessness. Emma woke at 7, padding into the living room in her pajamas. Are you going to work today? Nathan closed his laptop. Not today, sunshine. I'm taking some time off. Like a vacation? Something like that. Emma climbed onto the couch beside him, studying his face with concern that seemed too adult for a 7-year-old. You look tired. I am a little tired. We could watch cartoons together. That always makes you feel better. Nathan pulled Emma close, fighting the tightness in his throat. His daughter was trying to comfort him. The roles had reversed overnight, and she'd noticed. Cartoons sound perfect, he managed. They spent the morning on the couch, Emma giggling at animated characters while Nathan's mind spun through worst-case scenarios. By noon, he'd received 3 calls from blocked numbers that went straight to voicemail. Reporters, probably, or debt collectors who'd somehow already heard about his termination. When Emma went down for her afternoon quiet time, Nathan forced himself to start the job search. He pulled up employment websites and began filling out applications. Warehouse positions, retail, anything that might cover rent and groceries. Every application asked the same question. Have you ever been terminated from employment? Nathan stared at the checkbox. If he lied, and they found out, he'd be fired again. If he told the truth, no one would hire him. He checked yes and typed in the explanation box. Wrongfully accused of theft, no criminal charges filed, happy to provide references. Then he hit submit and moved to the next application, and the next, and the next. By the time Emma woke up, Nathan had applied to 17 jobs. He felt hollowed out, exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with lack of sleep. Can we go to the park? Emma asked, appearing in the doorway with hopeful eyes. Nathan wanted to say no. He wanted to stay on the couch, applying to jobs, trying to solve the unsolvable problem of his shattered life. But Emma had spent the morning watching him fall apart. She deserved better. Yeah, sunshine. Let's go to the park. The neighborhood playground was mostly empty on a Tuesday afternoon. Emma ran straight for the swings while Nathan settled onto a bench, his phone in hand in case any employers called back. They wouldn't. He knew they wouldn't, but hope died hard. Higher, Daddy, Emma called, pumping her legs on the swing. Nathan forced a smile. You've got it. Keep going. A woman sat down on the other end of the bench, juggling a coffee cup and a phone. She glanced at Nathan, offered a polite smile, then returned to her screen. Normal people doing normal things. People who hadn't just lost everything. Emma played for an hour, burning off energy while Nathan sat in his private nightmare. When she finally ran over, sweaty and grinning, he felt a flicker of something almost like peace. I'm hungry, Emma announced. Nathan checked his wallet. $23. How about we make grilled cheese at home? Can we get ice cream? Nathan looked at his daughter's hopeful face, still flushed from playing, and felt something crack inside his chest. Emma didn't understand that ice cream was now a luxury they couldn't afford. She still lived in a world where her father could fix anything. Sure, baby, we can get ice cream. They stopped at the corner store on the way home. Nathan let Emma pick her favorite, strawberry with rainbow sprinkles, while he calculated whether he could skip lunch tomorrow to make up the $3. Emma clutched the ice cream like treasure as they walked back to the apartment. Inside, Nathan made grilled cheese while Emma ate ice cream at the kitchen table, telling him elaborate stories about the adventures she'd had on the playground. Nathan listened with half his attention, the other half cycling through panic. Rent was due in 6 days. He needed $300 he didn't have. Emma's school supplies for next month would cost at least $50. The car needed an oil change and new tires. The warning light had been on for weeks. Daddy, you're not listening. Nathan blinked. Emma was staring at him with concern. I'm sorry, sunshine. Tell me again. I said Mrs. Chen asked if you could chaperone the field trip next month. To the Science Museum. The field trip. Nathan had signed up weeks ago, back when his biggest problem was finding time off work. Now, he didn't even know if he'd still be living in this city next month. We'll see, Nathan said, which was parent code for probably not. Emma's face fell slightly, but she didn't push. She was learning to read his moods, to know when to back off. Another small piece of childhood lost. After lunch, Nathan set Emma up with coloring books while he returned to his laptop. More job applications, more lies he had to tell, or truths that would disqualify him. The mouse clicks blurred together until he wasn't even reading the job descriptions anymore. His phone rang. Unknown number. Nathan's heart jumped. Maybe an employer, maybe someone offering an interview. Hello? Is this Nathan Hayes? The voice was male, professional, unfamiliar. Yes, this is Nathan. Mr. Hayes, this is Detective Robert Chen with the Metro Police. I'm calling regarding an investigation into theft from Vale Line Logistics. We'd like you to come to the station to answer some questions. The kitchen tilted. Nathan gripped the counter to steady himself. When? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Do you know where the 3rd precinct is located? Yes, but I need to explain. We can discuss everything tomorrow, Mr. Hayes. I'm just asking you to come in voluntarily to clear up some details. You're not under arrest. Not under arrest. Yet. Okay, Nathan heard himself say. 9 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. We'll see you then. The call ended. Nathan stood in his kitchen, phone still pressed to his ear, while his daughter colored at the table and his entire world collapsed in slow motion. They were going to arrest him. Maybe not tomorrow, but soon. They'd put him in handcuffs, take his mugshot, lock him in a cell. Emma would go into foster care. Everything he'd fought to preserve since Sarah died would be destroyed. Daddy, can you help me? Nathan turned. Emma held up her coloring book, pointing to a page she couldn't quite reach. Sure, baby. He walked over on autopilot, helped Emma find the right crayon, praised her coloring inside the lines. Normal dad things. Muscle memory taking over while his conscious mind screamed. That night, after putting Emma to bed, Nathan stood in his bathroom staring at his reflection. The face looking back seemed like a stranger's, dark circles under his eyes, skin drawn tight across his cheekbones, the expression of someone already broken. He thought about the detective's call, about walking into that police station and trying to convince them of his innocence with nothing but his word against whatever evidence Caleb Mercer had manufactured. Nathan thought about Olivia Vale standing on her platform, delivering his execution without hesitation or mercy. He wondered if she'd lost a single night of sleep over what she'd done. Probably not. People like Olivia Vale didn't worry about people like Nathan Hayes. He was just another faceless employee, easily replaced, quickly forgotten. The anger came then, hot and sudden. Not the explosive kind, but the slow-burning rage of the powerless. Nathan wanted to scream. He wanted to drive to Olivia Vale's mansion and make her look at Emma's face, make her see the real cost of her casual cruelty. But that kind of anger wouldn't help. It would only make things worse. So Nathan Hayes did what he'd been doing since Sarah died. He swallowed the rage. He pushed down the fear. He took a shower, brushed his teeth, and went to bed in the apartment he probably couldn't afford next month. And he tried to believe his daughter's faith wasn't misplaced. Across the city, in an office that occupied the entire top floor of the Vale Line Tower, Olivia Vale was still working. She sat at her desk reviewing quarterly reports when her assistant knocked on the door. Ms. Vale, I'm heading out. Do you need anything before I go? Olivia glanced at the clock, 10 p.m. Her assistant had stayed 3 hours past her shift. No, Jennifer, thank you. See you tomorrow. After Jennifer left, Olivia leaned back in her chair and allowed herself a moment of exhaustion. 18 months into her tenure as CEO, she still felt like an imposter. The board questioned her decisions. Investors doubted her vision. Her own employees whispered that she'd only inherited the company because her father had no sons. She'd proven them wrong by cutting costs, streamlining operations, and increasing profit margins by 12%. But it never felt like enough. The Nathan Hayes situation had been unfortunate but necessary. The theft investigation had traced back to his access codes, his fingerprints, his shift schedules. Caleb Mercer had presented her with overwhelming evidence, and Olivia had made the rational choice. Fire the thief. Send a message to the other employees. Protect the company's reputation. She'd done everything right, so why did she keep seeing that little girl's face? Olivia closed the quarterly report and pulled up the security footage from the warehouse confrontation. She watched herself on the platform, watched Nathan Hayes stumble forward through the crowd, watched the moment his daughter appeared at the fence. The child's scream was silent on the footage, but Olivia could still hear it. She closed the laptop, Nathan Hayes was a criminal who'd stolen from her company. His daughter would be better off without a father who taught her that theft was acceptable. Olivia had made the hard choice, the correct choice. She just needed to stop thinking about those eyes. Olivia gathered her things and headed for the private elevator. Tomorrow she had meetings with the board, a conference call with Tokyo investors, and a charity luncheon she couldn't skip without angering her mother. No time to second-guess decisions that were already made. The elevator descended through the empty building. Olivia caught her reflection in the polished doors, perfect suit, perfect hair, perfect mask. Her father used to say that leadership meant making decisions other people didn't have the strength to make. He'd built Veil Line from nothing, turning a small courier service into a billion-dollar empire. He'd been ruthless when necessary, compassionate when strategic, and absolutely certain of his own judgment. Olivia was trying to be half the leader he'd been, but her father had also died of a heart attack at 58, alone in his office, working until the moment his heart stopped. The elevator doors opened onto the parking garage. Olivia's Mercedes waited in its reserved spot, gleaming under the fluorescent lights. She slid into the leather seat and sat in silence for a moment before starting the engine. Tomorrow she'd be strong again. Tomorrow she'd be certain. Tonight, she just wanted to go home and forget the sound of a child screaming for her father. Olivia drove through the empty city streets toward her penthouse in the financial district and tried very hard not to think about Nathan Hayes. She failed. The 3rd Precinct police station smelled like burnt coffee and institutional disinfectant. Nathan sat in an interview room that was trying too hard to look friendly, beige walls, fake plant in the corner, framed poster about community partnership. But the one-way mirror gave it away, and so did the metal ring bolted to the table where suspects got handcuffed. Detective Chen entered carrying a manila folder thick with documents. He was mid-40s, Asian American, with the tired expression of someone who'd heard every lie humanity could invent. "Mr. Hayes, thanks for coming in." Chen sat down across from Nathan, opening the folder. "I know this is stressful, so I'll try to make it quick." Nathan's hands were shaking. He'd left Emma with a different neighbor this time, a college student from downstairs who needed the $20 more than she needed to ask questions. He had 40 minutes before he'd have to pay for another hour. "I didn't steal anything," Nathan said. "I don't know what evidence you think you have, but it's wrong." Chen pulled out a photograph, sliding it across the table. Security footage, grainy but clear enough. Someone in a Veil Line uniform loading boxes onto a hand truck. The timestamp read 2:47 a.m., the same footage Olivia Veil had shown the warehouse. "This is you, correct?" Nathan studied the image. The build was right, the height was right, but something felt off about the posture. "I don't think so. I was working Zone 12 that night." "Your badge accessed the restricted storage area at 2:43 a.m. Chen tapped another document. "Your fingerprints are on the inventory scanner. We have your employment records showing financial difficulties." "A lot of people have financial difficulties," Nathan interrupted. "That doesn't make them criminals." "No, but it establishes motive." Chen's voice stayed neutral, almost kind. "Mr. Hayes, I've been doing this job for 17 years. I can usually tell when someone's lying to me. Right now, I'm not sure what I'm seeing." Nathan felt a dangerous flicker of hope. "Then you believe me?" "I didn't say that." Chen pulled out more papers. "But there are some inconsistencies in the evidence that bother me. Small things. Timing gaps. Access patterns that don't quite match your usual work routine." "Because it wasn't me." "Maybe. Or maybe you're just smart enough to create reasonable doubt." Chen leaned back in his chair, studying Nathan. "Here's my problem. Veil Line wants to press charges. They've got their legal team pushing the DA's office hard, but I can't build a criminal case on circumstantial evidence and corporate pressure." Nathan's throat tightened. "So what happens now?" "Now you stay available. Don't leave the city. Don't try to contact anyone at Veil Line. And for the love of everything, don't do anything that makes you look guilty." Chen stood, collecting his papers. "I'm going to keep investigating. If you're innocent like you claim, the truth will surface eventually. And if it doesn't?" Chen paused at the door. "Then you should probably get a lawyer." Nathan walked out of the police station into afternoon sunlight that felt too bright, too normal. Cars passed on the street. People walked dogs. Life continued like his wasn't actively imploding. He checked his phone. 7 missed calls from blocked numbers. 12 emails from job applications, all rejections. One text from Emma's school about an overdue lunch account balance. Nathan sat on the station steps and put his head in his hands. "Rough day?" The voice startled him. Nathan looked up to find an older man in a janitor's uniform emptying the outdoor ashtrays. The man had kind eyes and the weathered face of someone who'd seen trouble before. "Something like that," Nathan said. "Whatever you did, it probably ain't as bad as you think." "I didn't do anything. That's the problem." The janitor nodded slowly. "Yeah, sometimes that's worse. System don't care much about innocent when it's already made up its mind." He moved to the next ashtray. "But the thing about truth is, it's patient. Lies fall apart eventually. You just gotta outlast them." Nathan wanted to believe that. He wanted to believe in justice and karma and eventual redemption. But Sarah's death had taught him that the universe didn't operate on fairness. "Thanks," Nathan said anyway. He drove back to his apartment, collected Emma from the neighbor, and spent the afternoon pretending everything was fine. They made dinner together, spaghetti with sauce from a jar. Emma chattered about school, about her friend Mia's birthday party next week, about the goldfish in her classroom that kept swimming upside down. "Can I go to Mia's party?" Emma asked. Her mom said it's at the bowling alley. Nathan did the math in his head. Birthday present, bowling costs, probably pizza and cake. $50 minimum he didn't have. "We'll see, sunshine." Emma's face fell slightly, but she recovered with the resilience of children. "It's okay, bowling is kind of loud anyway." That night after Emma went to bed, Nathan pulled up his bank account on his laptop. $217. Rent was due in 4 days. He'd already called the landlord twice begging for extensions. His phone buzzed, text from an unknown number. "Stop looking for work. No one will hire you. Accept what you did and move on." Nathan stared at the message, ice flooding his veins. Someone was actively trying to destroy him. This wasn't just about the theft accusation anymore. Someone wanted him isolated, desperate, broken. He thought about calling Detective Chen, but what would he say? "Someone sent me a mean text?" The police had bigger problems. Nathan deleted the message and tried to sleep. He managed maybe 3 hours before nightmares woke him. Dreams where Emma was crying and he couldn't reach her, where handcuffs bit into his wrists, while Olivia Vale watched with cold satisfaction. At 6 a.m., he gave up on sleep and started his daily routine. Check job sites, submit applications, try to convince himself that today would be different. By noon, he'd applied to 23 positions. Gas station attendant, grocery stocker, dishwasher. Jobs that required no background checks, no references, just a willingness to show up. He got 2 callbacks. The first ended when the manager recognized his name from news coverage he didn't know existed. The second offered him part-time work at a construction site, cash under the table, no questions asked. "When can you start?" the foreman asked over the phone. "Tomorrow." 6 a.m. Bring gloves and water. It's hard work." "I can handle hard work." Nathan hung up, feeling the first spark of hope in days. It wasn't much, probably minimum wage, no benefits, no security, but it was something. He could make rent. He could keep Emma fed. That afternoon, he picked Emma up from school and took her to the park again because it was free and she needed to run around. While Emma played, Nathan sat on the bench doing calculations in his phone's notes app. If he worked 6 days a week at construction, if he cut their grocery budget to bare minimum, if nothing else went wrong, they could survive for maybe 3 months. Then what? "Daddy, watch!" Nathan looked up to see Emma hanging upside down from the monkey bars, her face red with effort and joy. "Be careful, Em." "I'm fine. I'm super strong." She was. Emma had inherited Sarah's fearlessness, her absolute certainty that the world would catch her if she fell. Nathan had spent 2 years trying to preserve that innocence, shielding her from the knowledge that sometimes people fell and no one caught them. A woman pushing a stroller sat down on the bench beside Nathan. She looked vaguely familiar, maybe from the neighborhood, maybe from school pickup. She glanced at Emma, then at Nathan, and her expression shifted into something uncomfortable. "You're the one from the news," she said quietly. Nathan's stomach dropped. "What news?" "The warehouse theft. It was in the local section yesterday. They had your picture and everything." She stood up quickly, gathering her stroller. "I didn't realize you lived around here." She hurried away before Nathan could respond, calling to her own child with barely disguised urgency. Nathan pulled out his phone and searched his own name. The third result was a news article from 2 days ago. Local warehouse worker accused of major theft ring. The piece was short, barely 3 paragraphs, but it had his name, his age, and a blurry photo someone had pulled from his Facebook profile. The article called him the alleged orchestrator of a sophisticated theft operation and cited unnamed sources at Veil Line Logistics. Nathan's hands shook as he read. This wasn't just about losing his job anymore. His name was now permanently attached to words like theft ring and alleged criminal. Even if charges never got filed, even if he somehow proved his innocence, this article would follow him forever. "Daddy, why are you making that face?" Emma had appeared beside the bench, her expression worried. Nathan forced his features neutral. "Just reading something boring. You ready to head home?" On the walk back to their apartment, Nathan noticed people staring, or maybe he was imagining it. Maybe paranoia was setting in, turning normal glances into accusations. Either way, he felt exposed, like everyone could see the scarlet letter branded across his chest. That evening, while making mac and cheese from a box, Nathan's phone rang. The number showed as Veil Line Logistics' main line. His first instinct was to ignore it. Chen had said not to contact anyone from Veil Line, but maybe this was different. Maybe someone had realized the mistake. Nathan answered. "Hello? Mr. Hayes, this is Patricia from Veil Line HR." The voice was crisp, professional, emotionless. "I'm calling to inform you that the company has decided to pursue criminal charges for theft and embezzlement. The police will be contacting you soon regarding formal charges. Additionally, we're filing a civil suit to recover damages. You should expect to be served papers within the week." The kitchen tilted. Nathan gripped the counter. "Wait, I need to explain. There's been a mistake. Mr. Hayes, I'm not authorized to discuss the case details. I'm simply notifying you of the legal action. Have a good evening." The line went dead. Nathan stood in his kitchen, phone still pressed to his ear, while Emma set the table and hummed a song from school. Criminal charges. Civil suit. The words circled his brain like vultures. He was going to be arrested. They were going to take everything he had left, which wasn't much. And then they'd take Emma too. "Daddy, the timer's beeping." Nathan blinked. The mac and cheese was boiling over, water hissing onto the stovetop. He rushed to turn off the heat, slopping hot water onto his hand. The pain barely registered. "Are you okay?" Emma asked. "Yeah, sunshine. Just clumsy." They ate dinner in silence. Emma kept glancing at him with concern, but she was learning not to ask too many questions. Another small piece of childhood dying. After Emma went to bed, Nathan sat at his laptop researching criminal defense attorneys. Every website wanted thousands of dollars up front. One firm offered a free consultation, so Nathan filled out their contact form, knowing he couldn't afford them even if they took his case. At midnight, he was still awake, staring at his ceiling and trying to figure out his next move. He could run, pack up Emma and drive until they hit a state without extradition, change their names, start over. But that would make him look guilty, and Emma deserved better than a life on the run. Nathan must have fallen asleep at some point because he woke to Emma shaking his shoulder, sunlight streaming through the bedroom window. "Daddy, we're going to be late for school." Nathan checked the time, 7:45. School started at 8. They rushed through the morning routine, Emma brushing her teeth while Nathan threw together a lunch, both of them racing to the car. Nathan drove 12 miles over the speed limit, making it to the school drop-off lane with 2 minutes to spare. "Love you, sunshine," Nathan called as Emma jumped out. "Love you too." She paused at the car door. "Are you going to be okay today?" The question hit Nathan in the chest. His 7-year-old daughter was worried about him. "I'm going to be fine, Em. I promise." Emma studied his face, unconvinced, but the warning bell rang and she had to run. Nathan sat in the drop-off lane watching his daughter disappear into the building. Other parents were staring at him, whispering to each other. Maybe he was paranoid, maybe not. He drove straight to the construction site, a half-built office complex on the edge of town. The foreman, a burly guy named Rick with a thick Boston accent, took one look at Nathan and grunted approval. "You done manual labor before?" "Some. I can learn fast." "Good. We're pouring concrete today. Stay hydrated and don't pass out." The work was brutal. hauling bags of concrete mix in 90-degree heat, pushing wheelbarrows across uneven ground, shoveling until his shoulders screamed. Nathan's body hadn't done this kind of labor in years. By lunch break, his hands were blistering and his back felt like someone had driven a spike through it. But the physical pain was almost a relief. It gave him something to focus on besides the disaster his life had become. "You're keeping up pretty good," one of the other workers said during break. Miguel, early 20s, covered in tattoos. "Most office guys tap out by noon." "I wasn't an office guy. Warehouse work." Miguel nodded, uncapping his water bottle. "Yeah? I got a cousin works warehouse, says the overnight shift is brutal." Nathan didn't correct him. He wasn't ready to explain why he'd left warehouse work. Miguel seemed like a decent guy, and Nathan didn't want to see his expression change when he Googled Nathan's name later. They worked until 6 p.m. Rick paid Nathan in cash, $90 for the day. It wasn't much, but it was honest money, earned through legitimate labor. Nathan pocketed the bills and felt something almost like dignity. He picked up Emma from after-school care, where the director gave him a look that suggested she'd heard the news too. Nathan ignored it, signing Emma out and heading straight for their apartment. Inside, he found an envelope taped to their door. Official-looking. Heavy paper. Nathan's hands trembled as he opened it. Legal documents. The civil suit from Vale Line demanding $400,000 in damages plus legal fees and interest. $400,000. Nathan sat down right there in the hallway, his legs giving out. $400,000 might as well have been $4 million. He'd never make that kind of money in his lifetime, let alone have it available to pay a judgment. "Daddy, what's wrong?" Emma was standing in the apartment doorway, her backpack still on. Nathan forced himself to stand, forced his voice steady. "Nothing, baby. Just some paperwork. Let's make dinner." That night, after Emma fell asleep, Nathan sat at his kitchen table with the lawsuit papers spread in front of him. He needed a lawyer. He needed help. He needed someone to believe him. Instead, he was alone. Nathan pulled out his phone and did something he'd been avoiding. He called his mother-in-law. The phone rang 4 times before Carol answered, her voice wary. "Nathan? Hey, Carol, I know it's late. I needed to talk to someone." Silence on the other end. Carol had never forgiven Nathan for surviving the car accident that killed her daughter. She'd never said it outright, but Nathan felt it in every stilted conversation, every awkward holiday visit. "I heard about your situation," Carol said finally. "It was in the news." "I didn't do it. I need you to know that." "Nathan, what you need is a lawyer, and probably to consider what's best for Emma." The implication hung in the air like poison gas. "Emma is fine," Nathan said, his voice tight. "She's happy and safe, and she's 7 years old watching her father fall apart. Don't think I haven't noticed. She tells me things when we talk on the phone." Nathan's throat constricted. "What things?" "That you cry sometimes when you think she's asleep. That you don't eat dinner anymore. That kids at school say mean things about you and she pretends not to hear." Each word landed like a physical blow. "I'm handling it," Nathan said. "Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're drowning, and when you go under, Emma goes with you." "Is that what you want? To take her from me?" "I want my granddaughter safe and stable. If you can't provide that, then yes, maybe she'd be better off here." Nathan's vision blurred. "You can't. I won't let you. I'm not trying to hurt you, Nathan, but Sarah would want Emma protected, even if that means protected from you." The line went dead. Nathan sat in his kitchen, phone still pressed to his ear, while the world collapsed around him. His mother-in-law was right. Emma was suffering. She was watching him disintegrate and trying to hold them both together with her small hands and unshakable faith. Maybe she would be better off with Carol. Stable home, no scandal, actual food in the refrigerator. Nathan looked at Emma's drawings on the fridge, stick figures of him and her holding hands, a house with a wonky chimney, the words, "I love Daddy," in green crayon. No, he wouldn't give up. Not yet. The next morning, Nathan dropped Emma at school and headed back to the construction site. Another day of concrete and blisters. Another $90 that barely made a dent in the disaster. During lunch break, Miguel brought up a local news segment on his phone. "Yo, check this out. That CEO lady from Vale Line is doing damage control." Nathan's stomach clenched as Miguel turned the phone toward him. There was Olivia Vale, standing in front of Vale Line headquarters, surrounded by reporters. "The integrity of our supply chain is paramount," Olivia was saying, her voice smooth and controlled. "We've taken decisive action to address the criminal activity within our organization, and we're cooperating fully with law enforcement." A reporter shouted a question. "Ms. Vale, some employees are saying the accused worker was set up. How do you respond to those allegations?" Olivia's expression didn't flicker. "We have comprehensive evidence supporting our conclusions. I understand that people want to defend their colleagues, but the facts speak for themselves." The facts. Like she knew anything about facts. Like she'd spent even 5 minutes actually investigating before destroying Nathan's life. "You know this guy?" Miguel asked, watching Nathan's face. "No," Nathan lied. "Just another rich person covering their ass." That evening, Nathan went to the grocery store with Emma, trying to stretch $40 across a week's worth of meals. Emma wanted strawberries, her favorite fruit, but they were $6 a container. Nathan put them in the cart anyway, unable to deny her this small thing. They were in the checkout line when Nathan saw her. Olivia Vale stood 3 registers over, loading organic vegetables and expensive cuts of meat onto the belt. She wore yoga pants and a designer jacket, her hair pulled back in a casual ponytail that probably took 30 minutes to achieve. She looked like she belonged in a different universe, one where people didn't count pennies or ration strawberries. Nathan froze. Part of him wanted to walk over there, to make her look at Emma, to force her to see the real consequences of her actions. But another part of him was terrified. What if she called security? What if she caused a scene? Emma noticed his tension. "Daddy, are you okay?" The question carried across the quiet store. Olivia's head turned. Their eyes met. For one long moment, Olivia Vale stared at Nathan Hayes. He waited for recognition, for disgust, for her to summon a manager and have him removed. Instead, something strange crossed her face. Confusion, maybe. Or discomfort. Then Emma tugged on Nathan's sleeve. "Daddy, that lady is looking at us." Olivia's gaze shifted to Emma, the little girl in the purple jacket who'd cried at the warehouse that night. Emma stared back at Olivia with the direct, unnerving honesty of children. "Why did you hurt my daddy?" Emma asked. The words echoed across the produce section. Other shoppers turned to look. Olivia's professional mask cracked for just a second. Her mouth opened, closed. She looked genuinely rattled. Nathan grabbed Emma's hand. "Come on, sunshine. Wrong line." He moved to a different register, his heart hammering. Behind him, he heard Olivia paying for her groceries with fumbling hands that suggested she was just as shaken as he was. In the parking lot, Nathan loaded their meager groceries into his beat-up Honda while Emma climbed into her booster seat. "Was that the mean lady from Daddy's work?" Emma asked. Nathan paused, one hand on the car door. "Yes, baby." She looked sad. "I don't think people like her get sad, Em." "Everybody gets sad sometimes." Nathan wished he had his daughter's capacity for empathy. Emma could look at the woman who'd destroyed their lives and see sadness instead of evil. Meanwhile, Nathan could barely breathe around the anger constricting his chest. He drove home in silence, trying not to think about Olivia Vale's expression when Emma asked her question. It didn't matter if she felt sad or guilty or anything else. Feelings wouldn't pay his rent or clear his name. That night, after Emma went to bed, Nathan's phone buzzed with an email. The criminal defense attorney he'd contacted days ago had finally responded. "Mr. Hayes, I've reviewed your case summary. I believe you may have grounds for a defense, but I'll be frank. This will be expensive and difficult. Please call my office to discuss retainer requirements and potential outcomes." Nathan stared at the email until the words blurred. Expensive and difficult. Story of his life. He was about to close his laptop when another email arrived. This one from an address he didn't recognize. The subject line read, "You deserve to know the truth." Nathan's finger hovered over the delete button. Probably spam. Probably malware. He clicked it anyway. The email contained a single line of text and an attachment. "Check the dates on the security footage. Caleb Mercer knows more than he's saying." The attachment was a spreadsheet, access logs from Vale Line's security system. Nathan scrolled through hundreds of entries, not understanding what he was looking at. Then he saw it. Caleb Mercer's supervisor code accessing restricted storage areas on the same nights Nathan was supposedly stealing, timestamps that overlap perfectly with the alleged thefts. Nathan's pulse quickened. This was evidence. Real evidence that someone else was involved. But who sent it? And why? The email address gave no clues, a random string of letters and numbers from a free service. Could be a coworker. Could be a trap. Nathan forwarded the email to Detective Chen with a short message. Received this anonymously, don't know if it's legitimate, but thought you should see it. Then he sat back and tried to breathe. Maybe the janitor at the police station was right. Maybe truth really was patient. Maybe lies did fall apart eventually. Or maybe Nathan was just desperate enough to believe in fairy tales again. Across town, in her penthouse apartment overlooking the river, Olivia Vale couldn't sleep. She kept seeing that little girl's face in the grocery store, kept hearing the question, "Why did you hurt my daddy?" Olivia had built her entire career on certainty, on making difficult decisions without second-guessing, on trusting data and evidence over emotion. But tonight, for the first time in 18 months, she wondered if she'd made a mistake. She pulled out her laptop and opened the Nathan Hayes file. Everything Caleb had presented her looked solid. Access logs, fingerprints, financial records. But she'd never actually reviewed the raw evidence herself. She'd trusted Caleb's summary, trusted the investigation team, trusted that everyone was doing their jobs properly. Olivia started reading through the actual security reports, cross-referencing timestamps with shift schedules. It took her 3 hours to find the first inconsistency. A small thing. Nathan's badge accessing a door at 2:43 a.m. on a night when the shift schedule showed him clocking out at 2:30. Could be a clerical error. Could be Nathan staying late off the clock. Or could be someone using Nathan's credentials after he'd left. Olivia kept digging, her practiced eyes starting to see patterns she'd missed before. Access times that didn't quite match work schedules. Inventory reports with signatures that looked slightly different from Nathan's usual handwriting. At 4 a.m., she found something that made her blood run cold. A security audit from 6 months ago showing unusual access patterns from Caleb Mercer's supervisor code. The audit had been flagged for review but never investigated because Caleb himself was in charge of responding to it. Olivia sat back in her chair, her mind racing. She'd destroyed an innocent man's life because she'd been too arrogant to verify evidence herself. She'd trusted the wrong person, and Nathan Hayes had paid the price. The little girl's face flashed through her mind again. Those serious dark eyes full of pain and confusion. Olivia reached for her phone, then stopped. It was 4 in the morning. Whatever she did next needed to be careful, strategic. If she was wrong about this, she'd make everything worse. If she was right, she needed to build an airtight case before making accusations. But one thing was certain, she couldn't sleep until she knew the truth. Olivia pulled up Caleb Mercer's employment file and started reading. By the time dawn broke over the city, she'd uncovered a pattern of financial problems, gambling debts, and increasingly desperate behavior. And she'd begun to realize exactly what she'd done. Olivia didn't go home that night. She stayed in her office, fueled by coffee and the sick realization that she'd become exactly what she'd always feared, the kind of executive who signed off on reports without digging deeper, who trusted systems over people, who caused real damage through willful ignorance. By 7 a.m., she'd compiled a folder of inconsistencies that turned her stomach. Caleb Mercer's gambling debts totaled over $60,000. His supervisor code had accessed restricted areas on 12 nights when inventory went missing. His signature appeared on audit reports that conveniently cleared his own department of any wrongdoing. And Nathan Hayes' access logs, when cross-referenced properly with security camera timestamps, showed him clocking out minutes before the thefts occurred. Someone had used his credentials after he'd left the building. Someone who had access to employee badge codes and security overrides. Someone like a warehouse supervisor. Olivia's hand shook as she closed the file. She'd publicly humiliated an innocent man, destroyed his reputation, cost him his job and probably his ability to support his daughter. And she'd done it all without bothering to verify the evidence herself because she'd been too busy proving to the board that she was tough enough to run the company. Her office door opened without warning. Jennifer, her assistant, stopped short when she saw Olivia still wearing yesterday's clothes, surrounded by empty coffee cups. "Ms. Vale, did you sleep here?" I need you to set up a meeting with the legal team and the head of security this morning, immediately. Jennifer's eyes widened at the edge in Olivia's voice. Is everything all right? No, nothing is all right. Get them in here in 30 minutes. The meeting lasted 2 hours. Olivia presented her findings while Vale Line's legal counsel, Richard Chen, no relation to the detective, grew increasingly pale. If this is accurate, Richard said carefully, we've exposed the company to massive liability, wrongful termination, defamation, false accusation. Nathan Hayes could sue us for millions. He should sue us, Olivia snapped. We destroyed his life based on fabricated evidence. Paul Martinez, head of security, was studying the access logs with mounting horror. How did we miss this? My team ran a complete audit. Your team ran the audit Caleb Mercer gave them, Olivia said. He was covering his tracks, and we were all too complacent to question it. Richard rubbed his temples. We need to move carefully here. If we publicly admit wrongdoing before we have ironclad proof, we open ourselves to even bigger problems. Bigger than what we've already done to that man? Ms. Vale, I understand you're upset, but legally speaking, I don't care about legally speaking. Olivia stood, pacing to the window. I care about the fact that there's a 7-year-old girl who watched us destroy her father. I care about the fact that we're probably the reason she's going hungry right now. The room fell silent. Jennifer, still taking notes, looked like she might cry. What do you want to do? Richard asked finally. Olivia turned from the window. I want Caleb Mercer investigated properly. I want every piece of evidence re-examined by an independent forensic team, and I want Detective Chen from Metro Police brought into this immediately. That's essentially admitting we got it wrong. Because we did get it wrong, and the longer we wait, the worse this gets. Olivia's voice hardened. I'm not my father. I don't protect the company's reputation at the expense of someone's entire life. Get it done. After the legal team left, Olivia sat alone in her office, staring at the photograph on her desk. Her father shaking hands with the mayor at some ribbon-cutting ceremony, both men grinning with the confidence of people who never questioned their own judgment. Her father would have handled this differently. He would have found a way to make the problem disappear quietly, to settle out of court with an NDA, to bury the mistake deep enough that it never affected the company's stock price. But her father had also died alone, surrounded by achievements instead of people. Olivia wasn't sure she wanted that legacy anymore. She picked up her phone and dialed Detective Chen's number. Across town, Nathan was hauling concrete bags in 95-degree heat when his phone rang. He almost didn't answer. Blocked number, probably another reporter, but something made him check. Mr. Hayes, this is Detective Chen. I need you to come to the station today. We've received some new information about your case. Nathan's heart lurched. What kind of information? The kind we should discuss in person. Can you be here by 2 p.m.? Nathan glanced at Rick, who was watching from across the construction site. I'm working. Can it wait until tonight? Mr. Hayes, I think you'll want to hear this sooner rather than later. There was something in Chen's voice that made Nathan's pulse quicken. Not accusation this time, something else. I'll be there. Nathan found Rick and explained he had an emergency. Rick looked skeptical but handed him $60 for the morning's work. You coming back tomorrow? I hope so. Yeah, well, hope don't pour concrete. Nathan drove to the police station with his stomach in knots. Every worst-case scenario cycled through his mind. They'd found more evidence against him. They were arresting him today. Emma would come home from school to find her father in handcuffs. Detective Chen met him in the lobby instead of bringing him to an interview room. That felt significant, though Nathan wasn't sure why. Let's take a walk, Chen said. They ended up at a coffee shop 2 blocks from the station. Chen ordered 2 coffees without asking Nathan what he wanted, then led him to a corner booth away from other customers. Mr. Hayes, I'm going to be straight with you. When you first came in, I thought you were probably guilty. The evidence looked solid, but something about your story bothered me, so I kept digging. Nathan's hands tightened around the coffee cup. Then yesterday, I got an email from you with access logs that didn't match what Vale Line originally provided. I called their security department to verify, and suddenly everyone started scrambling. This morning, Olivia Vale herself called me to say they'd uncovered serious problems with their investigation. Nathan's brain struggled to process the words. What kind of problems? The kind where their warehouse supervisor, Caleb Mercer, has been systematically stealing from the company for months and using your credentials to cover his tracks. The coffee shop blurred. Nathan heard himself ask, "Are you sure?" Valline's bringing in forensic accountants and independent investigators. "But yeah, we're sure. Caleb had access to your badge codes, knew your schedule, and had the technical knowledge to manipulate security footage timestamps." Chen leaned forward. "Mr. Hayes, you were set up, and Valline knows it." Nathan's vision swam. Relief and rage crashed through him in equal measure. "So what happens now?" "Now we arrest Caleb Mercer. Valline drops all charges against you, civil and criminal. And you probably get yourself a very good attorney because you've got one hell of a wrongful termination case." "I don't want money," Nathan said. The words surprised him, but they were true. "I just want my life back." Chen's expression softened. "I get that. But Mr. Hayes, they put you through hell. They destroyed your reputation publicly. You're entitled to more than just getting your old job back." Nathan thought about Emma, about the strawberries she'd wanted at the grocery store, about the rent he couldn't pay and the mother-in-law who wanted to take his daughter away. "I need to think about it." "Fair enough." Chen stood, pulling out his wallet. "Coffee's on me." "And Mr. Hayes? I'm sorry. I should have dug deeper from the start." Nathan watched the detective leave, then sat alone in the coffee shop trying to absorb what he'd just heard. He was innocent. Everyone would know he was innocent. The nightmare was ending, so why did he feel like he was about to throw up? His phone rang. Unknown number again, but Nathan answered anyway. "Mr. Hayes, this is Jennifer Park, assistant to Olivia Vale at Valeline Logistics. Ms. Vale would like to meet with you at your earliest convenience to discuss the situation." Nathan's jaw clenched. "Tell Miss Vale I have nothing to say to her." "Mr. Hayes, please. She knows she made a terrible mistake. She's trying to make it right." "Make it right?" Nathan's voice rose. People in the coffee shop turned to look. "She accused me of being a criminal in front of 300 people. My daughter watched me get dragged out like trash. You can't make that right." "I understand you're angry." "No, you don't understand. None of you understand." Nathan hung up, his hands shaking. He sat in that coffee shop for another hour, trying to figure out what came next. Eventually, he forced himself to move, to drive to Emma's school for pickup, to pretend everything was normal when his entire world had just shifted on its axis. Emma came running out of the building with her backpack bouncing, her face bright with excitement. "Daddy, guess what? Mrs. Henderson said I did the best job on my reading project." Nathan scooped her up, holding her tight. "That's amazing, Sunshine. I'm so proud of you. Can we celebrate with ice cream?" Nathan thought about the $60 in his pocket, about the rent he still couldn't pay, about the fact that everything might be about to change. "Yeah, baby, we can celebrate with ice cream." They went to the corner store, and this time Nathan let Emma get the biggest container they had. They sat on the apartment steps eating ice cream straight from the carton with 2 spoons, and for those few minutes, Nathan let himself feel something like happiness. "Daddy, why are you smiling weird?" Emma asked, her mouth ringed with pink strawberry. "Just having a good day, Em." "Did something good happen?" Nathan considered how much to tell her. She deserved to know, but he didn't want to get her hopes up until everything was settled. "Maybe. I'll tell you more when I know for sure, okay?" Emma studied him with those 2 wise eyes. "Is it about the mean lady?" "Sort of, but it's good stuff this time, I think." Emma took another bite of ice cream, seemingly satisfied with that answer. "Good, because I prayed really hard that things would get better." Nathan's throat tightened. He'd tried so hard to protect Emma from the worst of their situation, but she'd been carrying this weight the whole time, worrying about him in whatever way 7-year-olds worried. "Things are getting better, Sunshine. I promise." That night, after Emma fell asleep, Nathan pulled up news articles about Valeline Logistics on his laptop. Nothing yet about the investigation being reopened. Nothing about Caleb Mercer. The article calling Nathan a criminal was still the top search result for his name. His phone buzzed. Text from Detective Chen. "Mercer arrested 1 hour ago. Confessed to everything. You'll want to watch the news tomorrow." Nathan stared at the message. Confessed. It was really over. He should have felt vindicated, triumphant. Instead, he just felt exhausted. Another text came through, this one from Jennifer Park at Vale Line. Ms. Vale would still like to meet with you. She understands if you're not ready, but she wants to apologize in person. You set the time and place. Nathan typed and deleted 3 different responses before finally settling on Thursday, 2 p.m., the diner on 5th Street. If Olivia Vale wanted to apologize, she could do it on his turf, in a public place where she couldn't hide behind corporate lawyers and PR statements. He hit send before he could change his mind. The next morning, Nathan woke to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. His phone had been buzzing all night while he slept. He scrolled through the messages in confusion. Former coworkers from Vale Line, people from his neighborhood, his mother-in-law, even Marcus Chen, who'd warned him about the storm weeks ago, all saying the same thing. Have you seen the news? Nathan turned on the local news channel. The anchor was in the middle of a story about Vale Line Logistics. Arrested yesterday evening on multiple charges of theft, embezzlement, and fraud. Caleb Mercer, a warehouse supervisor for Vale Line, allegedly stole over $400,000 in inventory over a 6-month period and framed another employee to cover his crimes. That employee, Nathan Hayes, was publicly accused and terminated last month. In a statement released this morning, Vale Line CEO Olivia Vale admitted the company made serious errors in its investigation and offered an unreserved apology to Mr. Hayes. The screen switched to footage of Olivia standing at a podium outside Vale Line headquarters. She looked different than she had during Nathan's termination, less polished, almost haggard. I take full responsibility for the failures in our investigation process, Olivia said, her voice steady but strained. Nathan Hayes is an innocent man who was subjected to a horrible injustice because I did not do my due diligence. I failed him, I failed his family, and I failed the standards this company should uphold. We are taking immediate steps to ensure nothing like this ever happens again, and we are working to make amends to Mr. Hayes in whatever way he deems appropriate. The camera caught a reporter shouting a question. Ms. Vale, will you be stepping down as CEO? That decision is up to the board, but regardless of my position, I will personally ensure that Mr. Hayes receives everything he's owed, his job, his back pay, and compensation for the damage we've caused. No amount of money can undo what happened, but at minimum, he deserves that. The news cut back to the anchor. Nathan turned off the TV and sat in stunned silence. Olivia Vale had just admitted fault on live television. She'd exposed herself to lawsuits, media criticism, and possible removal from her position. For him. His phone rang, his mother-in-law. Nathan answered warily. Carol. I saw the news. Carol's voice was thick with emotion. Nathan, I'm so sorry. I said terrible things to you. I believed what they were saying, and I should have known better. It's okay. It's not okay. I was ready to take Emma from you. I was calling lawyers to discuss custody options. I'm her grandmother, and I didn't believe in you. Nathan closed his eyes. Emma believed in me. That was enough. That child has more faith than any of us. She gets that from Sarah. Carol paused. I want to help. However you need. Money, childcare, legal support, whatever it takes. I appreciate that. I really do. But right now I just need some time to figure out what comes next. Of course, but Nathan, don't shut me out. I know I don't deserve it, but Emma needs her grandmother, and maybe you need someone on your side too. After the call ended, Nathan's phone continued buzzing with messages. Former coworkers apologizing, neighbors who'd avoided him suddenly offering support, the college student from downstairs saying she'd babysit for free whenever he needed. Everyone wanted to be on the right side now that the truth was out. Nathan took Emma to school, where the drop-off lane was suddenly full of friendly waves instead of suspicious stares. The school director who'd given him dirty looks stopped him at the entrance. Mr. Hayes, I want to apologize. I saw the news this morning, and I feel terrible about how I treated you last week. Nathan just nodded. Thank you. If there's anything the school can do, Emma's lunch account, field trip fees, anything at all, please let us know. Nathan drove to the construction site after drop-off, intending to work his shift. Rick met him at the entrance with an uncomfortable expression. Saw the news, Rick said. Guess you weren't some criminal after all. No. Look, I got no problem with you working here, but seems like you might have better options now. Your old company's probably offering you a gold mine to keep quiet. Nathan hadn't thought about what Veil Line might offer to make this go away. I'm not trying to get rid of you, Rick continued. Just saying, hauling concrete in 100-degree heat probably ain't your best move anymore. Nathan looked at the construction site, the half-built walls, the piles of materials, the other workers already sweating in the morning sun. A week ago, this job had felt like salvation. Now it felt like something he was clinging to out of stubbornness. Let me finish out the day, Nathan said. Then we'll see. Rick shrugged. Your call. Nathan worked until noon before his body gave out. He'd been running on adrenaline and coffee, and the heat combined with lack of sleep finally caught up with him. Miguel found him sitting in the shade, pale and shaking. Man, you look like death. Go home. I'm fine. You're not fine. You just got your name cleared. Go celebrate or process or whatever. We'll manage without you. Nathan drove home and collapsed on his couch. He slept for 4 hours straight, the kind of deep, dreamless sleep that only came after sustained trauma finally ended. He woke to find Emma sitting on the floor beside the couch, drawing quietly. She looked up when she heard him stir. You were sleeping really hard, Emma said. I was worried. Nathan checked the time. 4:30. How did you get home from school? Mrs. Rodriguez picked me up. She said you called her, but you were sleeping when I looked. Nathan had no memory of calling Mrs. Rodriguez, but apparently his subconscious had handled it. Sorry, Sunshine, I was really tired. It's okay, you've been working really hard. Emma climbed onto the couch beside him. Daddy, kids at school said you were on TV. They said the bad people admitted you didn't do the bad thing. Nathan pulled Emma close. That's right. They figured out they made a mistake. Everything's going to be okay now. So you're not in trouble anymore? No, baby. I'm not in trouble. Emma was quiet for a moment. Are we still poor? The question hit Nathan in the chest. What makes you think we're poor? I heard you on the phone saying we couldn't pay rent. And you always say we'll see when I ask for stuff. And you don't eat lunch anymore. Emma looked up at him with worried eyes. Mrs. Henderson's family was poor before, and she said that's what it was like. Nathan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. His 7-year-old daughter had been tracking their financial situation with the precision of an accountant. We've been having a hard time, Nathan admitted. But yeah, things are going to get better now. Because the mean lady is giving you your job back? Maybe. I don't know yet what I want to do. Emma considered this seriously. I think you should tell her she has to say sorry to me too, because I cried really hard that day. You know what, Em? I think you're right. Thursday afternoon, Nathan walked into the diner on 5th Street 15 minutes early. He wanted to be settled, in control, before Olivia Vale arrived. He chose a booth near the back, ordered coffee, and waited. Olivia showed up exactly at 2 p.m. She'd clearly tried to dress down, jeans and a simple blouse instead of her usual suits, but she still looked like money. She spotted Nathan and walked over with visible nervousness. Mr. Hayes, thank you for agreeing to meet. Nathan gestured to the opposite seat. Olivia slid into the booth, her hands clasped tightly on the table. I don't know how to start this, Olivia said. I've practiced a dozen different speeches and they all feel inadequate. Then don't give a speech, just talk. Olivia took a breath. I destroyed your life because I was too arrogant to verify evidence myself. I trusted the wrong people, and I didn't bother digging deeper because firing you made me look decisive to the board. I made you a spectacle to prove I was tough enough to run the company, and your daughter watched. Nathan's jaw tightened at the mention of Emma. I saw her at the grocery store, Olivia continued. She asked me why I hurt you, and I didn't have an answer because there is no good answer. I hurt you because I was careless and self-important and more concerned with my own reputation than with the truth. Is this the part where you offer me money to go away quietly? No. This is the part where I tell you that if you want to sue me personally, Veil Line, or both, I won't fight it. You're entitled to every penny and more. But money doesn't fix what I did. Nathan studied her face. She looked tired, haunted even. Nothing like the cold executive who'd stood on that platform. What do you want from me? Nathan asked. I want you to tell me what would make this even slightly less horrible. You want your job back? It's yours, at whatever position and salary you name. You want me to issue public apologies every day for a year? Done. You want me to resign so you never have to see my face again? I'll start writing the letter tonight. What I want, Nathan said slowly, is for the last month to have never happened. I want my daughter to not have nightmares about people taking me away. I want the parents at her school to not have whispered about her father being a criminal. I want to not have spent 2 weeks thinking I might lose custody because I couldn't afford groceries. Olivia's eyes glistened. I can't give you that. No, you can't. They sat in silence. The waitress came by to refill coffee. Nathan waited until she left before speaking again. My daughter thinks you should apologize to her too, for making her cry. Olivia looked stricken. I would, gladly, if you'd allow it. Nathan hadn't expected that response. You'd apologize to a 7-year-old? Your daughter asked me a direct question at the grocery store, and I couldn't answer her. She deserves an answer. And an apology. If you're willing to bring her. Nathan tried to picture it. Olivia Vale, CEO of a billion-dollar company, apologizing to Emma. Part of him wanted to say no out of spite. But Emma had asked for this. In her own way, she needed closure too. Saturday, Nathan said. The park on Elm Street. 3 p.m. We'll be at the playground. I'll be there. Olivia started to slide out of the booth, then stopped. Mr. Hayes, I meant what I said on the news. You're owed your job back, full back pay, and substantial compensation for damages. My lawyers are preparing an offer, but I want you to know. If you decide you never want to work for Vale Line again, I understand. You don't owe me anything. You're right, I don't. After Olivia left, Nathan sat in the diner for another hour, nursing cold coffee and trying to process the conversation. She'd seemed genuinely remorseful, but sorry didn't pay his rent or erase the trauma. His phone buzzed. Email from Vale Line's legal department with the subject line, Proposed Resolution. Nathan opened it. The offer included immediate reinstatement, 6 months back pay, a management position with a 40% salary increase, full benefits, and a settlement of $200,000 in exchange for not pursuing further legal action. $200,000. More money than Nathan had ever imagined having. He forwarded the email to the criminal defense attorney who'd offered to help and typed a short message. Received this offer. What should I do? The response came back within an hour. Don't sign anything. This is lowball. You're worth significantly more. I'll handle this. Talk tomorrow. Nathan closed his email and tried to breathe. His life was changing so fast he couldn't keep up. Saturday afternoon, Nathan brought Emma to the park as promised. She'd been confused when he explained they were meeting Olivia. Why does the mean lady want to see me? She wants to say she's sorry. Oh. Emma had considered this while putting on her shoes. Okay. I accept apologies. Now they sat on a park bench watching the playground while waiting for Olivia to arrive. Emma was nervous, swinging her legs and picking at her fingernails. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, Nathan said. No, I want to. Mrs. Henderson says accepting apologies is important even when you're still sad. Olivia appeared at 3 p.m. exactly, walking across the park in jeans and sneakers. She looked even more nervous than Emma. Hi, Olivia said softly when she reached them. Thank you for letting me come. Emma stared at her with serious eyes. Are you really sorry? Yes, more than I can explain. Why did you say those bad things about my daddy if you didn't know they were true? Olivia knelt down to be at Emma's eye level. Because I made a really big mistake. I believed something without checking carefully enough, and I hurt your daddy, and I hurt you, and I'm sorry. You made me cry at work. I know, that was wrong. You should never have had to see that. Emma studied Olivia's face, her expression unreadable. Nathan resisted the urge to intervene, letting his daughter handle this her own way. Finally, Emma said, Mrs. Henderson says everybody makes mistakes sometimes, even grown-ups, and saying sorry is good, but you also have to try to fix it. You're right. That's why I'm trying to fix it now. Okay? Emma stuck out her hand formally. I accept your apology. Olivia shook Emma's small hand, and Nathan saw tears in the CEO's eyes. Thank you, Olivia said. That means a lot. Emma nodded solemnly, then turned to Nathan. Can I go play now? Yeah, sunshine, go ahead. Emma ran toward the swings, leaving Nathan and Olivia alone on the bench. She's remarkable, Olivia said, watching Emma pump her legs on the swing. You've raised an incredible kid. Her mother deserves most of the credit. Emma got all her good qualities from Sarah. Still, to have that much grace at 7 years old. Olivia shook her head. I'm 30, and I'm still learning how to admit when I'm wrong. They sat in silence for a few minutes, watching Emma play. Other parents were at the playground, their kids running around in the afternoon sun. Normal Saturday things. My lawyer said your attorney rejected our offer, Olivia said finally. He thinks I'm owed more. He's probably right. But I want you to know, whatever you decide, I support it. You deserve to be compensated for what happened. Nathan looked at her directly. Why are you doing this? The public apology, the settlement offer, meeting with my daughter, your lawyers must be having heart attacks. Because it's the right thing to do. And because I looked in the mirror after that grocery store encounter, and I didn't like what I saw. Olivia's voice was quiet. I spent 18 months trying to prove I was tough enough to run my father's company, and I proved it by becoming exactly like him, cold, ruthless, so focused on the bottom line that I forgot actual people were involved. So this is about your guilt. Yes, and about trying to be better than I was a month ago, Emma called from the playground. Daddy, watch this! She hung upside down from the monkey bars, her face red with effort and pride. Nathan waved and gave her a thumbs up. When he turned back, Olivia was standing. I should go, but thank you again for this, for letting me apologize to her. Olivia? Nathan surprised himself by using her first name. I don't forgive you yet. I might not ever forgive you, but I appreciate you trying to make it right. That's more than fair. After Olivia left, Emma ran back to the bench, breathless from playing. She seemed really sad. She is sad. She did something wrong, and now she feels bad about it. Good. People should feel bad when they do wrong stuff. That's how they learn. Emma climbed onto the bench beside Nathan. But I still forgave her because Mrs. Henderson says holding grudges makes your heart heavy. Nathan pulled his daughter close, marveling at her wisdom. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You just forget sometimes because I'm little. That night, after Emma fell asleep, Nathan's phone rang. His attorney, Michael Park, calling late on a Saturday. Nathan, I've been negotiating with Vale Line all day. They've raised their offer significantly. How significantly? 3 years full salary, which works out to about $210,000. Management position with 60% salary increase going forward. Full benefits including health, dental, and a college fund for Emma, and a settlement of $450,000. Nathan's vision blurred. $450,000. They're also offering a formal letter of recommendation, public exoneration in all company materials, and a guaranteed seat on the Warehouse Workers Committee to help reform their investigation procedures. That's a lot of money, Nathan said numbly. It's a lot of money because they know you could get more if this went to trial. Wrongful termination, defamation, emotional distress. A jury would eat this up, but trials take years and cost a fortune in legal fees. This offer gets you paid now and lets you move on with your life. Nathan thought about Emma, about the college fund she'd need, about never having to choose between rent and groceries again. What do you think I should do? Honestly, I think you should take it. Not because it's fair. Nothing is truly fair after what you went through. But because it's enough to rebuild your life, and because fighting them in court for the next 3 years would keep you tied to this nightmare. I need to think about it. Take the weekend. But Nathan, whatever you decide, you won the important part. Everyone knows you're innocent. Your daughter knows you're innocent. The rest is just numbers on paper. After hanging up, Nathan sat on his couch, staring at the water-stained ceiling. $450,000 could change everything. He could buy a house, save for Emma's education, never worry about money again. But accepting the offer meant letting Vale Line close this chapter. It meant no trial, no public accounting of everything they'd done wrong. It meant Olivia Vale got to write the company a check and move on without real consequences. Nathan's phone buzzed. Text from Marcus Chen, his former coworker. Hey man, heard you're negotiating with the company. Whatever you decide, just know a lot of us are hoping you come back. Things have changed since Caleb got arrested. Olivia's been coming down to the floor, talking to workers, actually listening. Still a long way to go, but it's different. Anyway, you'd be welcome back if you want it. Nathan stared at the message. He'd assumed going back to Vale Line was impossible, that too much had happened, that the humiliation would follow him through every hallway and break room. But maybe people deserve second chances. Even corporations, even CEOs who'd made terrible mistakes. He thought about Emma asking if they were still poor, about the rent he couldn't pay, about the future that had seemed so impossibly dark just a week ago. Then he thought about the janitor at the police station saying truth was patient, that lies fell apart eventually. The man had been right. Nathan picked up his phone and texted Michael Park. I'll take the offer, but I want one addition. They have to donate $200,000 to a fund for wrongfully terminated workers. I want something good to come out of this. The response came quickly. I'll make it happen. You're doing the right thing. Nathan wasn't sure about that, but he was doing the human thing, choosing Emma's future over revenge, choosing to rebuild instead of burning it all down. He walked to Emma's room and stood in the doorway, watching his daughter sleep. Her nightlight cast soft shadows across her drawings on the wall, the stick figures of them holding hands, the wonky house, the words "I love Daddy" in green crayon. Emma had never doubted him, not once, even when the rest of the world had. That faith, more than any settlement check, was what would carry them forward. The settlement papers arrived on Tuesday morning via courier. Nathan signed them at his kitchen table while Emma ate cereal and asked why the man in the suit needed Daddy's signature on so many pages. Just work stuff, sunshine. Is it good work stuff or bad work stuff? Nathan looked at his daughter's concerned face and realized she'd learned to categorize everything in their lives by those two categories now. Good work stuff meant smiles and maybe ice cream. Bad work stuff meant Daddy's worried face and whispered phone calls. Good work stuff. Really good. Emma grinned. Can we get the strawberries this week? Yeah, baby. We can get all the strawberries you want. By Friday, the first payment had cleared Nathan's bank account. He sat staring at the balance on his phone, $450,000 plus back pay, and felt nothing. The number seemed abstract, like it belonged to someone else's life. Emma tugged on his sleeve. Daddy, you're doing the staring thing again. Sorry, just thinking. About money stuff? How do you know it's money stuff? Emma rolled her eyes with the exasperation of someone far older than 7. Because you always get that face when you look at your phone and there's numbers. Nathan laughed despite himself. Yeah, okay, money stuff. But good money stuff this time. So we're not poor anymore? No, sunshine, we're not poor anymore. Emma considered this seriously. Does that mean we can get a house with a yard? Mrs. Henderson says yards are good for kids. Nathan's chest tightened. A house with a yard. Such a simple dream, and until this week, completely out of reach. Maybe. Would you like that? Yeah, then I could get a dog. A big one that could protect us. Emma had never mentioned wanting a dog before. Nathan wondered what else she'd been quietly wishing for while learning to accept less. Let's start smaller. How about we find a better apartment first? One without water stains on the ceiling. And with a working elevator? And with a working elevator? Emma threw her arms around Nathan's neck. I knew everything would be okay. I told you the truth always comes out. Nathan held his daughter and tried to believe her optimism. The truth had come out, and they had money now, and everything should feel better. So why did he still feel like he was waiting for the other shoe to drop? On Monday morning, Nathan drove to Vale Line headquarters for the first time since his termination. Security waved him through without the usual badge scan, and the receptionist smiled at him like they were old friends. Mr. Hayes, Ms. Vale is expecting you. 10th floor, corner office. Nathan took the elevator up, his stomach churning. He'd agreed to one meeting before officially returning to work, a chance to discuss his new position and make sure they were on the same page. But standing in this building again made his skin crawl. Olivia's assistant, Jennifer, greeted him with an apologetic smile. She's running 5 minutes behind. Can I get you coffee? Water? I'm fine, thanks. Nathan sat in the waiting area, surrounded by expensive furniture and corporate art. Through the glass walls, he could see employees moving through cubicles, attending meetings, living their normal professional lives. A month ago, he'd been one of them. Now he felt like a visitor from another planet. Olivia appeared in the doorway, slightly breathless. "Nathan, sorry to keep you waiting. Come in." Her office was smaller than Nathan expected, though still larger than his entire apartment. Windows overlooked the city. The desk was clean except for a laptop and a framed photo of an older couple, probably her parents. "Please sit." Olivia gestured to a chair across from her desk, then seemed to reconsider. "Actually, the couch might be better. This doesn't need to be formal." They moved to a seating area by the windows. Olivia sat on one end of the couch, Nathan on the other, maintaining careful distance. "How are you?" Olivia asked. "How's Emma?" "We're adjusting. It's a lot of change very quickly." "I can imagine, or actually I probably can't imagine, but I'm trying to understand." Olivia pulled out a folder. "I wanted to go over the details of your new position before you start. Make sure we're aligned on expectations." Nathan took the folder but didn't open it. "Before we get into that, I need to know something. Are you doing this because you actually want me back, or because your lawyers said it was the best way to minimize damage?" Olivia didn't flinch from the directness. "Both, honestly. The lawyers did recommend reinstatement as part of the settlement, but I also think you'd be good at this job, and I think having you here sends a message about the changes we're making." "What changes?" "New investigation protocols, independent oversight committee, worker representation and management decisions. We're completely overhauling how this company operates." Olivia leaned forward. "I won't pretend this is pure altruism. What happened to you exposed serious problems, and we're fixing them because it's good business, but it's also the right thing to do." Nathan opened the folder. The job description outlined a new position, Operations Director for Warehouse Safety and Personnel. It would put him in charge of developing worker protection policies, reviewing termination cases, and serving as a liaison between floor staff and management. "This is a big job," Nathan said. "It is, and you're qualified for it. 7 years on the floor, you know how the warehouse actually operates. You've experienced firsthand what happens when the system fails. That makes you more qualified than anyone with an MBA. What if I don't want to work here anymore? What if every time I walk through that door, I remember getting dragged out in front of my daughter?" Olivia's expression tightened. "Then I'd understand completely. The job is yours if you want it. But Nathan, you don't owe me anything. If you'd rather take the settlement and never see this place again, that's valid." Nathan looked out the window at the city below. Cars moving through streets, people living their lives, everything continuing like the last month hadn't happened. "I have to think about it," he said finally. "Of course, take all the time you need." Nathan stood to leave, then paused. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "Why are you still here? The board could have forced you out after this scandal. You could have resigned with your dignity intact. Why stay and fight through the mess?" Olivia was quiet for a moment. "Because running away is what the old me would have done. The version of myself I'm trying not to be anymore." She met his eyes. "And because I want to see the changes through. I created this problem. I need to be part of fixing it." Nathan nodded slowly. "I'll call you by the end of the week with my decision." He left Vale Line headquarters feeling more confused than when he'd arrived. Part of him wanted to tell Olivia Vale to take her job and shove it. But another part, the part that had spent 7 years caring about warehouse safety, about his coworkers, about doing the work right, was intrigued by the position. That afternoon, Nathan met with Carol at a coffee shop near Emma's school. His mother-in-law had been calling repeatedly since the news broke, asking to see him, to apologize properly, to be involved in Emma's life again. Carol looked older than Nathan remembered, more gray in her hair, more lines around her eyes. She stood when he entered, her hands wringing nervously. "Nathan, thank you for meeting me." They sat at a corner table, coffee between them like a demilitarized zone. "I was horrible to you," Carol said without preamble. "I believed the worst because it was easier than admitting I'd failed Sarah." "Failed Sarah how?" "By not being there for you after she died. By not helping more with Emma. By being so wrapped up in my own grief that I forgot you were grieving too." Carol's eyes filled with tears. "When the accusations came out, some terrible part of me almost wanted them to be true. because then I could be angry at you instead of angry at myself. Nathan hadn't expected that level of honesty. You didn't fail, Sarah. You lost your daughter. There's no right way to handle that. Maybe, but I should have been kinder to you. Emma needs both of us. She does, Nathan agreed, which is why I'm not going to hold this against you, Carol. Life's too short, and Emma loves you too much. Carol reached across the table and squeezed Nathan's hand. Sarah would be proud of you, how you've handled all this, how you've raised Emma. She'd be so proud. That night, Nathan stood in Emma's doorway, watching her sleep, thinking about Sarah. His late wife had been the optimistic one in their relationship, the one who believed in happy endings and second chances. She'd probably tell him to take the job at Veil Line, to be part of building something better. But Sarah had also been fiercely protective. She would have torn Olivia Vale apart for hurting their daughter. Nathan wasn't sure those two impulses could coexist. On Wednesday, Nathan took Emma to look at apartments. Nothing too fancy. He wasn't ready to spend the settlement money on luxuries yet, but places with working appliances and safe neighborhoods and maybe a small yard. The third place they visited was a 2-bedroom townhouse with a fenced backyard. Emma ran through the room squealing with excitement. Daddy, this one! This is perfect! There's space for a dog and everything! The landlord, a middle-aged woman named Patricia, smiled at Emma's enthusiasm. We do allow pets with a deposit, and the elementary school is just 3 blocks away. Nathan walked through the townhouse doing calculations in his head. First month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit, pet deposit. All of it would have been impossible 6 weeks ago. Now it was barely a dent in his account. We'll take it, Nathan heard himself say. Emma shrieked and hugged his legs. Patricia pulled out paperwork, and within an hour, Nathan had signed a lease on their new home. In the car afterward, Emma couldn't stop talking. Can we get furniture and curtains? And I want a blue room, Daddy. Can my room be blue? Yeah, sunshine, your room can be blue. And the dog? Can we really get a dog? Nathan looked at his daughter's hopeful face in the rearview mirror. Let's get settled in the new place first, then we'll talk about a dog. That's parent code for maybe, Emma said knowingly. When did you get so smart? I keep telling you, I've always been smart. Friday morning, Nathan called Olivia from his soon-to-be former apartment while Emma was at school. I'll take the job, he said when she answered. But I have conditions. Name them. I want full authority to implement safety changes without management approval. I want direct access to workers without going through supervisors. And I want it in writing that I can't be terminated without board approval and independent review. Done, done, and done. Anything else? Yeah, I start at the warehouse, not headquarters. I need to rebuild trust with the people who watched me get dragged out. I can't do that from an executive office. That makes sense. We'll set you up in the warehouse management suite. And one more thing. No special treatment. I don't want anyone thinking I got this job because of what happened. I'll earn it the same way everyone else does. Olivia was quiet for a moment. Nathan, people are going to think what they think regardless. But I respect what you're saying. You'll be judged on your work, not your history. When do you want me to start? Whenever you're ready. Monday? 2 weeks? Nathan thought about the townhouse lease starting in 10 days, about Emma adjusting to their new normal, about giving himself time to breathe before jumping back into Veil Line. 2 weeks. And Olivia? If I don't think the changes are real, if it feels like PR instead of actual reform, I'm walking. Fair enough. After hanging up, Nathan sat in his apartment feeling the weight of his decision. He'd just agreed to work for the woman who'd destroyed his life. His former coworkers might think he'd sold out. People might accuse him of taking blood money. But he'd also just secured a position where he could actually make things better for warehouse workers, where he could prevent what happened to him from happening to someone else. The next 10 days passed in a blur of moving boxes and furniture shopping and helping Emma pack up her old room. Carol came over to help, and Nathan discovered that working together toward a shared goal made their relationship easier. They assembled beds and hung curtains and argued about what color plates to buy, and somewhere in the mundane tasks, they found a new rhythm. Marcus Chen stopped by with pizza on moving day. He looked around the townhouse and whistled. Man, this is nice. Big upgrade from the old place. Yeah, it is. Marcus grabbed a slice. So you're really coming back to Veil Line? Monday morning. How's that going to be? Working for her after everything? Nathan had been asking himself the same question. Honestly, I have no idea. But the job is good, and I think I can make a real difference. Just don't let them change you, man. You're one of the good ones. On Sunday night, Nathan couldn't sleep. He lay in his new bed in his new bedroom, listening to Emma snore down the hall, and tried to prepare himself for Monday morning. He'd walk into that warehouse as a manager instead of a floor worker. Some people would resent the promotion. Others would think he'd sold out. A few might even still believe he'd been guilty all along. Emma appeared in his doorway around midnight, dragging her stuffed elephant. "Can't sleep either?" Nathan asked. "I keep thinking about school tomorrow. What if the kids ask about the new house? What if they think we're showing off?" "Come here, sunshine." Emma climbed into bed beside Nathan, curling into his side like she used to when she was smaller. "You don't have to tell anyone anything you don't want to," Nathan said. "But there's nothing wrong with being happy about our new home. We earned it." "Did we earn it, or did the mean lady give it to us because she felt guilty?" Nathan was constantly surprised by Emma's ability to cut through to the heart of things. Both, I guess. The money came from Veil Line, but we earned the right to that money by surviving something really hard, and we get to decide what to do with it. Emma thought about this. Mrs. Henderson says sometimes bad things happen so good things can come later, like how her family lost their house, but then they got a better one and she met her best friend there. Mrs. Henderson is pretty smart. All teachers are smart. That's why they're teachers. Monday morning arrived cold and gray, which felt appropriate. Nathan dropped Emma at school with extra hugs and reassurances, then drove to Veil Line Logistics with his stomach in knots. The parking lot looked the same, the building looked the same. But when Nathan walked through the employee entrance, everything felt different. Marcus was waiting inside, along with a few other familiar faces from night shift. They'd all switched to day shift to welcome Nathan back. "We got you a thing," Marcus said, handing Nathan a coffee mug that read, "World's Most Innocent Guy." Nathan laughed despite his nerves. "Seriously?" "Hey, someone had to break the tension." The warehouse floor had changed in subtle ways. New safety signs, better lighting, a suggestion box mounted near the break room that looked actually used. Nathan spotted workers he recognized. Some smiled and waved, others looked away awkwardly. Paul Martinez from security met Nathan at the warehouse management office. "Mr. Hayes, welcome back. Ms. Vale asked me to show you around before she arrives." The office was modest. Desk, computer, filing cabinets, window overlooking the main floor. Someone had left a welcome basket with coffee and snacks. The nameplate on the desk read, "Nathan Hayes, Director of Operations." It's not fancy," Paul said, "but it's yours. And you've got access to everything. Personnel files, security footage, inventory systems. Ms. Vale was serious about giving you real authority." Nathan sat at the desk, running his hands over the smooth surface. A month ago, he'd been hauling concrete for $90 a day. Now he had an office with his name on it. Olivia appeared in the doorway right at 9 a.m. She wore a practical pantsuit instead of her usual designer outfits, and her hair was pulled back simply. "Nathan, ready for your first day?" "As ready as I'll ever be." "Good, because we've got a lot of work to do." They spent the morning reviewing cases, workers who'd been disciplined or terminated over the past year. Olivia had pulled every file, and she wanted Nathan's input on which decisions had been fair and which needed review. "This guy," Nathan said, pointing to one file. "Steve Morrison, fired for repeated safety violations. But I remember Steve. He kept reporting broken equipment and nobody fixed it. Then when he tried to work around the broken stuff, they wrote him up." "So wrongful termination?" "I'd say investigate further at minimum." They worked through lunch, ordering sandwiches and eating at Nathan's desk while reviewing more files. Some terminations were clearly justified. Others made Nathan angry all over again at how carelessly the company had treated its workers. Around 3 p.m., Olivia's phone rang. She glanced at the screen and grimaced. "I have to take this." "Board member, keep going through those files and flag anything concerning." After Olivia left, Nathan stood and stretched, his back aching from sitting. Through the window, he watched the warehouse floor, forklifts moving through aisles, workers scanning inventory, the organized chaos he'd been part of for 7 years. Someone knocked on the open door. Nathan turned to find a woman in her 50s standing there, nervous. "Mr. Hayes, I'm sorry to bother you. I'm Linda Chen, Marcus's mom. I work in packaging. Mrs. Chen, is everything okay? I just wanted to say thank you for coming back, for being willing to work with Ms. Vale after everything. Linda twisted her hands. My husband got wrongfully terminated from his last job 3 years ago. Never got an apology, never got compensation, just got thrown away. So seeing you here, seeing the company actually trying to make things right, it gives people like us hope. Nathan's throat tightened. I'm just trying to do a good job, Mrs. Chen. I know, but you're also showing that companies can be held accountable. That means something. After Linda left, Nathan sat back down at his desk, feeling the weight of what he'd taken on. This wasn't just about him anymore. People were watching to see if real change was possible. Olivia returned an hour later looking exhausted. Sorry, the board is concerned about Q4 projections and wanted to discuss contingencies. Everything okay? It will be. They're just nervous after the scandal, worried about client retention. Olivia sat across from Nathan. Which is actually what I wanted to talk to you about. We've got a potential client coming in next week, big automotive parts contract. They're concerned about our reliability after the theft situation. I'd like you there for the meeting. Nathan frowned. Why me? Because you're proof that we take accountability seriously, that we admit mistakes and make them right. You want to parade me around like I'm some kind of trophy. No, I want them to meet the person in charge of making sure theft and misconduct don't happen again. You're not a prop, Nathan. You're the actual solution. Nathan considered this. What if I say something they don't want to hear? Then you say it. I'm not asking you to lie or sugarcoat anything. Just be yourself. Over the following week, Nathan fell into a routine. Mornings reviewing cases and meeting with workers who had complaints or concerns. Afternoons working with department heads on new safety protocols. Evenings going home to Emma and the townhouse that still felt surreal. The workers slowly warmed to him. Some remained skeptical, but most seemed genuinely glad he was back. Nathan made a point of eating lunch in the break room, of being visible on the floor, of remembering that he'd been in their position not long ago. On Friday afternoon, Olivia stopped by his office with coffee. Client meeting is Monday at 10 a.m. You nervous? Should I be? Probably. Richard Chen is handling most of it, but they'll ask you direct questions. They'll want to hear your perspective on what happened and what's different now. Nathan took the coffee. You trust me not to screw this up? I trust you to be honest. That's what they need to hear. Olivia started to leave, then paused. Nathan, can I ask you something? Do you think you'll ever forgive me? Not now, obviously, but eventually? Nathan thought about Emma's easy forgiveness at the park, about how his daughter had accepted Olivia's apology without hesitation. He thought about Linda Chen's words about accountability mattering. I don't know, Nathan said honestly, but I think I'm willing to try. That's the best I've got right now. Olivia nodded, something vulnerable crossing her face. That's more than I deserve. After she left, Nathan stood at his window, watching the warehouse floor. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the aisles. Day shift was ending, night shift beginning. The same rhythm that had defined his life for 7 years. But he wasn't the same person who'd worked those shifts. He'd been broken and rebuilt into something different. Maybe not stronger, but more aware. More careful with his judgments. More willing to believe in complicated truths instead of simple narratives. Nathan's phone buzzed. Text from Emma. Mrs. Rodriguez says, can we come over for dinner? She made tamales. Nathan smiled and typed back. Tell her yes. I'll pick you up at 6. Simple moments. Tamales with neighbors. Watching Emma play with Mrs. Rodriguez's grandkids. These were the things that mattered, that had kept him going through the worst of it. The job, the settlement, the townhouse, all of it was just scaffolding around the real foundation of his life, which was Emma's laugh and tamales with friends and the slow, difficult work of rebuilding trust. Nathan locked his office and headed out to the parking lot. The evening air was cool, carrying the smell of rain. In the distance, thunder rumbled. Monday morning's client meeting would be challenging. Learning to work alongside Olivia Vale would take time and patience and probably a lot of uncomfortable conversations. But Nathan Hayes had survived worse. And he was learning that survival wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning of whatever came next. The storm broke as Nathan drove to pick up Emma, rain hammering against the windshield. He thought about Olivia alone in her office, probably still working, probably trying to prove something to a board that would never fully trust her. He thought about the workers on night shift, starting their 12-hour rotation, hoping their new director actually understood what they needed. And he thought about Emma waiting for him at Mrs. Rodriguez's house, probably covered in flour from helping make tortillas, probably telling everyone about the dog they were going to get eventually. The road ahead was uncertain and complicated and probably full of setbacks. But for the first time in months, Nathan felt like he was moving forward instead of just trying to survive. That had to count for something. The rain didn't stop all weekend. By Monday morning, the streets were rivers and the sky hung low and gray over the city. Nathan drove to Vale Line headquarters for the client meeting with his windshield wipers struggling to keep up with the downpour. Emma had asked him that morning why he looked nervous, and Nathan had tried to explain that sometimes grown-ups had to do hard things even when they were scared. Emma had nodded like this made perfect sense and told him to just be himself because himself was pretty good. Now, sitting in Vale Line's main conference room surrounded by executives in expensive suits, Nathan wished he had his daughter's confidence. The potential clients were from Hendrick Automotive, a major parts manufacturer looking to consolidate their logistics. 3 stern-faced men in their 50s sat across the table studying Nathan like he was evidence in a trial. Richard Chen, Vale Line's legal counsel, was midway through his presentation about security improvements when one of the Hendrick executives held up a hand. "This is all very impressive on paper, Mr. Chen, but we're not here for a sales pitch. We're here because 6 weeks ago, your company publicly accused an employee of stealing $400,000, and it turned out you were wrong." The man looked directly at Nathan. "You're that employee, correct?" Nathan's throat went dry. "Yes, sir." "So tell us why we should trust Vale Line with our inventory when your own executives couldn't tell the difference between a thief and an innocent man." The room fell silent. Olivia sat at the head of the table, her expression carefully neutral, but Nathan could see tension in her shoulders. Nathan leaned forward. "You shouldn't trust us blindly. That's the whole point." The Hendrick executives exchanged glances. "What happened to me happened because too many people trusted the system without verifying it," Nathan continued. "My supervisor falsified records, and management signed off on them because they assumed their processes were foolproof. They weren't. So yeah, Vale Line screwed up. Badly. But here's what's different now." Nathan pulled out the folder he'd prepared. Documentation of every change implemented in the past month. Independent auditing. Worker representation. Multi-level review for all termination decisions. Direct reporting lines that bypassed potentially corrupt supervisors. These aren't theoretical reforms, they're active right now. Every single inventory discrepancy gets reviewed by 3 separate departments. Every employee complaint goes to an independent committee, and I personally review every termination case before it's finalized. Nathan met the lead executive's eyes. "I'm not here to tell you we're perfect now. I'm here to tell you we learned from a massive failure, and we built something better from the wreckage." One of the Hendrick men leaned back in his chair. "And you're comfortable working for the woman who destroyed your reputation?" Nathan glanced at Olivia. She was watching him with an unreadable expression. "Comfortable isn't the word I'd use," Nathan said. "But Ms. Vale could have buried this whole thing. She could have settled quietly, made me sign an NDA, and pretended it never happened. Instead, she admitted fault publicly, exposed her company to lawsuits, and gave me the authority to actually fix the problems. That takes a different kind of courage than I expected." The meeting lasted another hour. By the end, Hendrick Automotive hadn't committed to anything, but they promised to consider Vale Line seriously. After they left, Richard clapped Nathan on the shoulder. "That was good work. You didn't oversell, and you didn't hide from the hard questions." They respected that. After the room cleared, Olivia lingered near the windows, watching rain streak down the glass. "Thank you," she said without turning around. "You could have thrown me under the bus in there." "Would have been easy to," Nathan admitted. "But that's not what Emma would want me to do." Olivia turned, curiosity crossing her face. "Emma? She's got this teacher, Mrs. Henderson, who apparently fills her head with all this stuff about forgiveness and second chances, and Emma takes it seriously." Nathan moved to stand beside Olivia at the window. A month ago, I was so angry I could barely breathe around you, but my 7-year-old daughter looked at you and saw someone who made a mistake and was trying to fix it. Hard to stay bitter when your kid's showing you how to be better. She's remarkable. Yeah, she is. Gets that from her mom. They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the storm. I have to fly to Chicago tomorrow, Olivia said. Board meeting. They're going to push for my resignation. Are you going to give it to them? I don't know yet. Olivia's voice was tired. Part of me thinks I should. Clean slate for the company, remove the controversy, but another part thinks that's the coward's way out. What would your father do? My father would fight like hell and win. Olivia smiled sadly. But my father also built an empire by crushing anyone who got in his way. I'm not sure his playbook is the one I want to follow anymore. Nathan thought about this. You know what I learned from all this? Sometimes the bravest thing isn't fighting or quitting. Sometimes it's just showing up the next day and doing the work, even when it's messy and uncomfortable and everyone's watching to see if you'll fail. Olivia looked at him with something like gratitude. When did you get so wise? About the time I was eating ice cream on apartment steps with $40 in my pocket and a daughter who believed in me for no good reason. The week passed in a blur of work. Nathan interviewed workers about their concerns, reviewed safety protocols, and slowly built trust with people who'd watched him get humiliated. Some remained skeptical. He overheard whispers about him being Olivia's pet project, about the settlement money buying his loyalty. But most seemed genuinely hopeful that things were changing. On Friday evening, Nathan picked up Emma from school to find her bouncing with excitement. Daddy, guess what? Mia's mom said I can come to her birthday party tomorrow. At the bowling alley. Can I go? Please? Nathan thought about the party invitation he'd had to turn down weeks ago because he couldn't afford it. Yeah, sunshine, you can go. We'll get Mia a present tonight. They spent an hour at the toy store with Emma agonizing over the perfect gift. She finally settled on an art set, then insisted they get the fancy wrapping paper because presentations matter. At the register, Emma watched Nathan pull out his credit card without the usual hesitation, without the mental math of whether this would mean skipping groceries. We really aren't poor anymore, are we? Emma said in the car. No, baby, we're doing okay now. Good, because I was getting worried about you. Nathan glanced at her in the rearview mirror. You were worried about me. Yeah, you stopped eating lunch and you got really skinny, and sometimes I'd hear you crying in the bathroom when you thought I was asleep. Nathan's vision blurred. He pulled over into a parking lot and turned to face his daughter. Emma, I'm so sorry you had to see all that. It's okay. Mrs. Henderson says sometimes parents need taking care of too. Emma unbuckled her seatbelt and leaned forward to hug Nathan from behind. I'm just glad you're better now. Nathan held his daughter's arms and tried not to fall apart. I'm getting better. And that's partly because of you, Sunshine. You kept believing in me when I couldn't believe in myself. That's what families do, Daddy. We believe in each other, even when it's hard. Saturday morning, Nathan dropped Emma at the bowling alley party and drove to the animal shelter. He'd been thinking about the dog conversation for weeks, trying to decide if they were ready. But watching Emma light up about normal kid things, birthday parties and art sets and the stability to make plans, convinced him. The shelter volunteer showed him several dogs, big ones, small ones, energetic puppies that would require constant attention. Nathan was about to give up when he saw a medium-sized mutt in the last kennel, some mix of retriever and shepherd, maybe 3 years old, with soulful brown eyes. That's Charlie, the volunteer said. Owner surrendered him when they moved. He's good with kids, already trained, just needs a home. Nathan knelt by the kennel. Charlie came over and pressed his nose against the fence, tail wagging tentatively. What do you think, buddy? Want to meet my daughter? 2 hours later, Nathan pulled up to the bowling alley with Charlie in the back seat. Emma came running out with Mia and 2 other girls, still buzzing from cake and games. Then she saw the dog. Emma froze, her mouth falling open. Daddy? Emma, meet Charlie. Charlie, this is Emma. She's going to be your person. Emma's shriek probably registered on seismographs. She ran to the car and Nathan let Charlie out on his leash. The dog immediately sat down and let Emma hug him, his tail thumping against the pavement. Is he really ours? Really? 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 The shelter said he's good with kids and already knows commands. Figured he deserved a second chance, just like us. Emma buried her face in Charlie's fur, and Nathan saw her shoulders shake with happy tears. Mia and the other girls crowded around asking questions, and for a moment Nathan just watched his daughter experiencing pure, uncomplicated joy. This was what he'd been fighting for. Not the money or the job or even his reputation, just this. Emma being a normal 7-year-old with a dog and friends and a father who could give her the childhood she deserved. That evening, Olivia called Nathan's cell while he was watching Emma teach Charlie to shake hands in their backyard. "Sorry to bother you on the weekend. I just got out of the board meeting." Nathan's stomach tightened. "How'd it go?" "They voted. I'm staying on as CEO. Narrow margin, lots of conditions attached. But I get to see this through." "That's good. Congratulations." "Thanks. Listen, there's something else. Hendrick Automotive called this afternoon. They're signing with us. 3-year contract worth about $15 million. They specifically mentioned your presentation as the deciding factor." Nathan sat down on the back steps, watching Emma giggle as Charlie licked her face. "Seriously?" "Seriously. Richard said you gave them confidence that we're not just paying lip service to reform, that we're actually committed to doing better." Olivia paused. "Nathan, I know working together is complicated. I know I can never fully make up for what I did to you, but I want you to know that what you're building here matters. You're changing this company in ways I couldn't do alone." After the call ended, Nathan sat on the steps for a long time, Charlie eventually wandering over to flop down beside him. Emma came and sat on Nathan's other side, leaning her head against his shoulder. "This is a good day," Emma said contentedly. "Yeah, sunshine. It's a pretty good day." The weeks turned into months. Fall gave way to early winter, and the townhouse slowly started feeling like home. Nathan and Emma decorated for holidays. Carol visited regularly, rebuilding her relationship with her granddaughter through cookie baking and homework help. Mrs. Rodriguez and Marcus came over for dinners that turned into regular Friday night gatherings. At work, Nathan's reforms were actually making a difference. Worker complaints went down. Morale improved. 3 people who'd been wrongfully terminated were reinstated with back pay. The changes weren't perfect. Some managers resisted, some workers remained skeptical. But progress was visible. Nathan and Olivia developed an odd working relationship built on mutual respect and careful boundaries. They had weekly meetings to review cases and discuss policy changes. Sometimes they disagreed sharply. Other times they found unexpected common ground. It wasn't friendship exactly, but it wasn't purely professional either. Something more complicated, forged through shared failure and the slow work of rebuilding. One December afternoon, Olivia stopped by Nathan's office with coffee and an unusual request. "The board wants to do a company-wide town hall. Let employees ask questions directly about the changes we've made. They want both of us there." Nathan grimaced. "Public speaking isn't really my thing. You did fine with the Hendrick clients." "That was 3 people in a conference room. This is hundreds of workers who watched me get dragged out." "Which is exactly why your voice matters." Olivia sat across from Nathan. "These aren't board members or clients. They're people like you used to be. They need to hear from someone who understands their reality." The town hall took place in the main warehouse on a Friday afternoon. Hundreds of workers from all shifts packed the floor, sitting on pallets and standing in clusters. Nathan stood beside Olivia on a small platform, his heart hammering. Richard Chen moderated, reading questions that had been submitted anonymously. The first few were softballs about safety equipment and shift scheduling. Then someone asked the question Nathan had been dreading. "How do we know this isn't just PR? How do we know things will actually stay different after the scandal dies down?" Olivia started to answer, but Nathan touched her arm gently and stepped forward. "You don't know," Nathan said. "That's the honest answer. You don't know if these changes are permanent, and neither do I. What I can tell you is that I'm watching. I review every termination, every complaint, every safety report. And the second I think we're sliding back into old patterns, I'm going to raise hell about it." A few people laughed nervously. "Here's what I learned from getting fired," Nathan continued. "Systems only work when people pay attention to them. When we get complacent, when we assume someone else is checking the facts, that's when innocent people get hurt." So my job now is to never be complacent, to question everything, to make sure your voices get heard even when they're inconvenient. Another hand went up. Marcus Chen, standing near the back. How do you work with someone who destroyed your life? How do you get past that? The warehouse went silent. Everyone turned to look at Nathan, then at Olivia. Nathan took a breath. I don't know if I'm past it. Some days I look at Ms. Vale and I remember my daughter crying at that fence, and I want to be angry all over again. But other days I see her actually doing the work, reviewing policies at midnight, fighting with the board about spending money on safety improvements instead of executive bonuses, admitting when she's wrong even when it costs her. He glanced at Olivia, who was staring at her shoes. What happened to me was wrong, unforgivably wrong. But Ms. Vale didn't hide from it. She could have made this whole thing disappear quietly. Instead, she chose accountability. She chose to admit fault publicly and face the consequences. That doesn't erase what happened, but it means something. Nathan turned to address the full crowd. We're all imperfect people trying to build something better. Some days we'll succeed, some days we'll fail. But as long as we keep showing up honestly, as long as we hold each other accountable, I think we have a shot at making this place what it should have been all along. The applause started small but built into something genuine. Not everyone was convinced. Nathan could see skeptical faces in the crowd, but enough people seemed willing to hope. After the town hall, Olivia found Nathan in his office, staring out at the warehouse floor. That was brave, she said quietly. What you said about still being angry sometimes. It was true. I'm not going to pretend everything's perfect between us. I wouldn't want you to. Olivia leaned against the doorframe. Nathan, can I tell you something I've never told anyone? Sure. My father died of a heart attack in his office at 58. Found him at his desk, alone, surrounded by quarterly reports. He'd built this empire, commanded respect from everyone, never showed weakness. And he died alone because he'd pushed away everyone who actually cared about him. Olivia's voice wavered slightly. I spent 18 months trying to be him, trying to prove I was tough enough, hard enough, ruthless enough. And I became exactly what I was afraid of, someone so focused on appearing strong that I forgot to be decent. You're not him, Nathan said. I know that now. But I didn't know it before you, before I had to face what my arrogance cost someone. Olivia met Nathan's eyes. So thank you. For being honest about still being angry, for not pretending this is simple, for showing me that real strength isn't about never making mistakes. It's about owning them and doing better. Nathan didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. Christmas came with unexpected warmth. Carol hosted dinner at her house, and Nathan was surprised when she suggested inviting Mrs. Rodriguez and Marcus and their families. The small gathering turned into a crowd of 15 people, with Emma at the center orchestrating games and Charlie stealing cookies from unattended plates. Nathan stood in Carol's kitchen helping with dishes when his mother-in-law touched his arm. Sarah would be so proud of you, Carol said. How you handled everything, how you protected Emma, how you chose to rebuild instead of becoming bitter. I had a lot of help. We all do. That's not weakness, Nathan. That's wisdom. Early in the new year, Nathan got an unexpected call from Detective Chen. Mr. Hayes, thought you'd want to know. Caleb Mercer pled guilty to all charges, got 8 years, and he's required to pay restitution to Vale Line. Won't affect your settlement, but thought you'd appreciate the closure. Nathan thanked him and hung up, feeling something release in his chest. Justice wasn't perfect. 8 years wouldn't undo what Caleb had done, but it was something. An acknowledgement that what happened mattered, that actions had consequences. That evening, Nathan told Emma about Caleb's sentencing while they made dinner together. Is 8 years a lot? Emma asked, stirring pasta sauce. It's a long time, yeah. Good. He hurt us really bad. Emma was quiet for a moment. But I'm glad we don't have to think about him anymore. I like thinking about good stuff better. What kind of good stuff? Like Charlie and our house, and how you smile more now, and how you eat lunch again. Emma grinned up at him. You were getting super skinny, Daddy. It was scary. Nathan pulled his daughter into a hug, overwhelmed by her resilience. Emma had watched her father fall apart and put himself back together, and somehow she'd emerged still believing in happy endings. Valentine's Day arrived on a Tuesday, and Emma was vibrating with excitement about the party at school. Nathan helped her prepare Valentines for her classmates, princess-themed cards with candy attached. "Do I have to give one to Bobby?" Emma asked, wrinkling her nose. "He picks his nose." "Everyone gets one, Sunshine, even nose pickers." "Fine, but he's getting the card without sparkles." Nathan was dropping Emma at school when he noticed Olivia's car in the parking lot. She was walking toward the building carrying a large box, looking lost. "Olivia?" She turned, clearly flustered. "Nathan, hi, This is going to sound weird, but I volunteer here sometimes. Reading program. Today's Valentine's party, and I brought supplies." Nathan blinked. "You volunteer at Emma's school?" "I started in November. The principal mentioned they needed help with their literacy program, and I had time." Olivia shifted the heavy box. "I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to think I was trying to insert myself into your life or anything creepy like that." Emma had spotted them and came running over. "Ms. Vale, did you bring the good glitter?" "I brought 3 kinds of glitter, against my better judgment." Emma squealed and grabbed Olivia's free hand, pulling her toward the building. "Come on! We have to set up before the other kids get here." Nathan watched them go, his daughter and the woman who'd nearly destroyed their lives, walking into school together to set up a Valentine's party. Life was strange sometimes. That evening, Emma talked non-stop about the party, how Ms. Vale had helped them make cards, how she'd read a story with different voices for each character, how she'd let Emma be her special helper. "She's actually really nice when she's not at work," Emma announced at dinner. "She laughed at my jokes and everything." Nathan tried to process this information. Olivia Vale, laughing at a 7-year-old's jokes. Volunteering at an elementary school. It didn't match the ice-cold CEO he'd first met. But then, he wasn't the same desperate warehouse worker anymore either. People changed. Sometimes trauma broke you open and let light in where there'd only been darkness before. In March, Vale Line announced record profits despite, or perhaps because of, the reforms Nathan had implemented. Worker productivity was up. Client retention was at an all-time high. The board credited Olivia's leadership, but she made sure to publicly acknowledge Nathan's role in rebuilding company culture. Nathan and Olivia were leaving a meeting one afternoon when she stopped him in the parking lot. "I know this might be overstepping, but there's a fundraiser gala for the children's literacy program next month. The one at Emma's school. I bought a table, and I was wondering if you and Emma might want to come. Carol too, if she's interested." Nathan hesitated. A gala meant formal wear and small talk with wealthy donors. Not exactly his comfort zone. "Emma would love it," Olivia added quickly. "They're honoring the kids who improved the most in reading this year. Her teacher said she's one of the top improvers." That decided it. "Yeah, okay, we'll be there." The gala was held at a hotel ballroom downtown. Nathan felt ridiculous in the suit Carol had helped him buy, but Emma looked like a princess in her fancy dress. She bounced on her toes the whole way there, asking if there would be dancing and fancy food, and if Charlie would be okay home alone. "Charlie will be fine, Sunshine. Mrs. Rodriguez is checking on him." Inside the ballroom, Nathan was immediately overwhelmed by the crowd. Wealthy donors in designer clothes, business leaders, politicians. He spotted Olivia near the stage talking to the school principal and another woman Nathan didn't recognize. Emma grabbed Nathan's hand. "There's Miss Vale! Can we say hi?" They made their way through the crowd. Olivia lit up when she saw Emma. "You look beautiful. Is that a new dress?" "Daddy let me pick it out myself. It has pockets," Emma demonstrated by shoving her hands in the pockets. The woman beside Olivia smiled warmly. "You must be Emma. I've heard so much about you. I'm Jennifer Park, Ms. Vale's assistant." Emma shook Jennifer's hand solemnly. "Do you work in an office?" "I do. Lots of boring meetings and paperwork." "That sounds terrible. When I grow up, I'm going to work with animals." The dinner portion of the evening was pleasant, if a bit stuffy. Nathan sat at Olivia's table with Emma, Carol, Jennifer, and several donors. Emma charmed everyone by asking direct questions about their jobs and their lives, her natural curiosity making even the stiffest businessmen smile. When it came time for the awards, Emma was called to the stage with 9 other students. The principal talked about each child's progress, and when she got to Emma, Nathan's throat tightened. Emma Hayes improved 3 reading levels this year through hard work and determination, but what impressed her teachers most was her empathy. Emma started a buddy reading program where stronger readers help students who are struggling. She did this because, in her words, everyone deserves help when things are hard. The audience applauded. Emma beamed from the stage, and Nathan felt tears stinging his eyes. His daughter, who'd watched him fall apart, had channeled that experience into helping other kids. After the ceremony, Emma ran back to their table with her certificate. "Did you see, Daddy? I got an award!" "I saw, Sunshine. I'm so proud of you." Emma showed the certificate to everyone at the table, then turned to Olivia. "Ms. Vale, will you sign it? You're kind of famous, so your signature might be worth something someday." Olivia laughed, a real, unguarded laugh that transformed her face. "I don't know about famous, but I'd be honored." She signed Emma's certificate with a silver pen, writing a personal note that Nathan couldn't quite see. Emma read it and hugged Olivia impulsively. "Thank you for helping at our school, and for giving my daddy his job back, and for saying sorry that time at the park." Olivia hugged Emma back, her eyes suspiciously bright. "Thank you for being such a remarkable kid." Later, during the dancing portion of the evening, Emma dragged Nathan onto the floor. They spun around to big band music, Emma standing on Nathan's shoes like she used to do when she was smaller. "This is the best night ever," Emma declared. "Better than getting Charlie?" "Okay, second best night ever." Nathan laughed and spun his daughter around, catching a glimpse of Olivia watching from the edge of the dance floor. She looked different tonight, softer somehow, less guarded. When their eyes met, she smiled, and Nathan found himself smiling back. Not forgiveness exactly, but maybe the beginning of something like it. As spring arrived, Nathan settled into a rhythm that felt almost normal. Work challenges came and went, difficult termination cases, budget disputes, resistance from old guard managers who resented the reforms. But the wins outnumbered the losses. Workers were speaking up more. Safety incidents dropped by 40%. The culture was slowly shifting from fear-based compliance to actual engagement. Nathan's relationship with Olivia evolved into something he couldn't quite define. They had dinner occasionally to discuss work matters that stretched into conversations about their lives. She told him about the pressure of living up to her father's legacy, about board members who still questioned her every decision. He told her about Emma's latest school project, about Charlie's habit of stealing socks, about the strange relief of finally being able to breathe again. They weren't friends exactly. The history between them was too complicated for that. But they were something. Two imperfect people learning to build trust from the ruins of a massive failure. One warm May evening, Olivia called Nathan with an unusual request. "This is going to sound strange, but would you and Emma want to come over for dinner this weekend? Just casual, nothing work-related. I've been practicing cooking, and I need guinea pigs." Nathan was so surprised he almost said no out of reflex. Then he thought about Emma's persistent questions about whether Ms. Vale was lonely in her big, fancy apartment. "Yeah, okay. Saturday work for you?" Olivia's penthouse was exactly what Nathan expected. Modern, expensive, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the river. But it was also surprisingly warm, with plants everywhere and bookshelves crammed with actual books. Emma was thrilled, running from window to window, exclaiming about the view. Charlie, who they'd brought at Olivia's insistence, sniffed around cautiously before deciding the expensive couch looked comfortable. "Charlie, off," Nathan said sternly. "Oh, let him stay. I never use that couch anyway." Olivia handed Nathan a beer and Emma a juice box. "Dinner's almost ready. Fair warning, I'm not a great cook. If it's terrible, we can order pizza." But dinner wasn't terrible. Olivia had made pasta with homemade sauce, garlic bread, and a salad. They ate at her dining table while Emma told elaborate stories about her classmates, and Charlie begged shamelessly for scraps. After dinner, Emma discovered Olivia's piano and asked if she could play it. "Do you know how?" Olivia asked. "No, but I can figure it out." Emma proceeded to bang out random notes while Nathan and Olivia cleaned up in the kitchen. "She's got confidence," Olivia said, laughing as Emma created what could generously be called experimental music. "She gets that from her mother, too. Sarah believes she could do anything if she tried hard enough." "You must miss her." "Every day, but it gets easier. The missing doesn't go away, but you learn to carry it differently." Nathan dried a plate. "Emma keeps her memory alive better than I ever could. She talks about her mom all the time, remembers the stories I've told her, asks questions. It's like Sarah is still part of our family, just in a different way. Emma appeared in the kitchen doorway. Ms. Vale, do you have a family? Olivia's expression flickered with something sad. Not really. My father passed away, and my mother and I don't talk much. She lives in Florida with her new husband. That's sad. Everyone should have a family. Emma thought for a moment. You could be part of our family if you want. We have extra room now. Nathan's breath caught. Olivia looked like she might cry. That's very kind, Emma, but I think your family is pretty perfect as it is. We're not perfect. Daddy still forgets to match his socks sometimes, and Charlie eats things he's not supposed to, and I got in trouble last week for talking during math. But we love each other anyway. That's what families do. After they left Olivia's apartment, Emma fell asleep in the car holding the small potted plant Olivia had sent home with her. Nathan carried his daughter upstairs to the townhouse, Charlie trailing behind, and felt something settle in his chest. Life wasn't perfect. He still had hard days. Sometimes anger flared up when he remembered standing on that platform, humiliated in front of hundreds of people. Sometimes he wondered if he'd made the right choice working for Vale Line again. But Emma was thriving. They had a home. He had meaningful work. And slowly, carefully, he was learning that forgiveness wasn't a single moment. It was a series of small choices, made over and over, to let go of bitterness and build something new. June brought Emma's 8th birthday. Nathan threw a party at the townhouse with Emma's classmates, Carol, Mrs. Rodriguez's family, Marcus and his mother Linda, and, at Emma's insistence, Olivia. The backyard was chaos. Kids running around with Charlie, cake and ice cream everywhere, birthday games that devolved into general mayhem. Olivia sat on the back steps watching it all with a smile that looked almost wistful. Nathan joined her with 2 beers. Surviving? Barely. I'd forgotten how loud kids can be. Olivia accepted the beer. This is nice, though. Real. My birthdays growing up were always these formal affairs with adults and catering. Emma's lucky to have this. She is. I just wish Sarah could see it. They sat in comfortable silence, watching Emma open presents. When she got to Olivia's gift, a complete art supplies set and an enrollment in summer art classes, Emma shrieked and tackled Olivia in a hug. This is the best present ever. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Later, after the guests left and Emma crashed on the couch from sugar overload, Nathan found Olivia helping clean up the backyard. You don't have to do that, Nathan said. I know, but I want to help. Olivia picked up paper plates. Nathan, can I ask you something personal? Sure. Do you think you'll ever fully forgive me? I know you said you're trying, but I need to know if there's a version of the future where we're actually friends. Nathan thought about this carefully. Honestly, I don't know. Some of what happened will always hurt. But I also know that holding on to anger was eating me alive. And I know that you've done everything possible to make amends. So maybe forgiveness isn't about forgetting or even about being okay with what happened. Maybe it's just about choosing not to let the past poison the future. That's more philosophical than I expected. I've had a lot of time to think about it. Nathan tied off a garbage bag. Here's what I know for sure. You made a terrible mistake. You owned it. You changed because of it. And you've become someone Emma trusts, which matters more to me than anything else. Olivia's eyes glistened. She's an amazing kid. She is, and she likes you. So I guess that means you're stuck with us. Summer passed in a blur of good moments. Emma's art classes, weekend barbecues with neighbors, Charlie learning new tricks, work challenges that felt manageable instead of overwhelming. Nathan found himself laughing more, sleeping better, looking forward to tomorrow instead of just surviving today. In August, Vale Line held its annual company picnic. Nathan brought Emma, who immediately ran off to play with other employees' kids. Nathan was manning the grill with Marcus when Olivia approached. The board approved your proposal for the Worker Advancement Program, she said. Full funding for education and training. Starts next quarter. Nathan grinned. Seriously? Seriously. They fought me on it, but the numbers don't lie. Investing in workers improves retention and productivity. Turns out treating people well is actually good business. Imagine that, Olivia smiled. You've changed this company, Nathan, more than any policy or procedure could. You've changed how we think about our people. Emma came running over, grass-stained and sweaty. Daddy, Miss Vale, come play volleyball with us. We need adults. They spent the next hour playing chaotic volleyball with a group of kids and their parents. Nathan hadn't played since high school, and Olivia was comically bad at it, but Emma's laughter made it perfect. Afterwards, sitting in the grass watching the sunset, Emma leaned against Nathan's shoulder. "This was a really good day," she said. "Yeah, sunshine. It was." Emma looked up at Olivia, who was sitting nearby talking to Jennifer. "Do you think Miss Vale is happy now?" "I think she's happier than she used to be. Why?" "Because she smiles with her eyes now. Before she only smiled with her mouth. Mrs. Henderson says that's how you know if someone's really happy or just pretending." Nathan looked at Olivia and realized Emma was right. The cold executive who'd stood on that platform was gone, replaced by someone more human, more genuine, someone who'd been broken by her own mistakes and rebuilt into something better, just like him. Fall arrived with Emma starting 3rd grade and Nathan celebrating a full year at his new position. The company threw a small recognition event, and workers actually showed up voluntarily to thank Nathan for the changes he'd implemented. Linda Chen spoke on behalf of the warehouse staff. "Before Mr. Hayes, we were numbers on a spreadsheet. Now we're people. That matters more than any of the executives probably understand." That night, Nathan and Emma had dinner with Olivia at their favorite diner, the same place where Nathan and Olivia had met for their first difficult conversation about amends. Emma chattered about her new teacher, while Nathan and Olivia discussed an upcoming expansion project. "You two should just get married already," Emma announced suddenly. Nathan choked on his coffee. Olivia turned bright red. We're not." Nathan fumbled for words. "Why not? You're friends now, right? And you have dinners together all the time. And Ms. Vale makes you laugh. And she's really nice, even though she was mean that one time." "Marriage is more complicated than that, Sunshine," Emma shrugged. "Okay, but I think it would be nice that then Ms. Vale wouldn't be lonely anymore, and we'd be an even bigger family." After Emma went to the bathroom, Nathan and Olivia sat in awkward silence. "I'm sorry," Nathan said. "She gets ideas in her head sometimes." "Don't apologize. It's sweet." Olivia smiled. "Though, for the record, I'm not expecting anything. I'm just grateful to be part of your lives in whatever capacity works." "I know, and for what it's worth, I'm grateful too. You've become important to us. To Emma, especially." "And to you?" Nathan considered this. "Yeah, to me too. I never thought I'd say that, but it's true." Winter brought unexpected challenges. The company faced a major contract dispute that threatened layoffs. Nathan fought hard to protect warehouse jobs, working 18-hour days to find alternative solutions. Olivia backed him completely, even when the board pushed back. Late one December night, Nathan was still in his office reviewing budget projections when Olivia appeared with coffee. "You're going to burn yourself out," she said. "Can't stop now. If we don't figure this out, 200 people lose their jobs right before the holidays." Olivia sat down across from him. "Then let me help. 2 heads are better than 1. They worked until 3 a.m., finally finding a restructuring plan that saved the jobs without gutting the budget. When the numbers finally balanced, they both sat back exhausted. "We did it," Nathan said. "We did it," Olivia echoed. They were sitting close together, both too tired to move. Nathan noticed details he'd never paid attention to before. The small scar on Olivia's chin, the fact that her eyes weren't actually cold at all when she let her guard down, the way she bit her lip when she was concentrating. "Thank you," Olivia said softly, "for not giving up on this company, on me. Thank you for giving me a reason not to." Something shifted in the air between them. Nathan felt it and knew Olivia did too, but neither of them moved, both aware that crossing that line would change everything. Finally, Olivia stood. "I should go. Emma needs you well rested." "Yeah, good night, Olivia." "Good night, Nathan." Christmas Eve arrived with snow, the first real snow of the season. Emma was beside herself with excitement, building snowmen with Charlie in the backyard while Nathan and Carol prepared dinner. The doorbell rang around 6 p.m. Nathan opened it to find Olivia standing there holding a pie and looking nervous. I know I said I couldn't make it, but I finished work early, and I thought, if there's room, I'd love to join you, if that's okay. Nathan smiled. Yeah, come in. Emma will be thrilled. Dinner was loud and chaotic and perfect. Emma insisted they all share their favorite memory from the year. Carol talked about reconnecting with her granddaughter. Nathan mentioned getting Charlie. Emma described her art class final project. When it was Olivia's turn, she was quiet for a moment. My favorite memory is the day Emma accepted my apology at the park, because that's when I realized forgiveness was possible, that I didn't have to be defined by my worst mistake forever. Emma got up and hugged Olivia. You're not your mistakes, Ms. Vale. You're all the good stuff, too. After dinner, while Carol and Emma made hot chocolate, Nathan and Olivia stood on the back porch watching snow fall. I never thanked you properly, Olivia said. For everything. For giving me a second chance. For teaching me what real leadership looks like. For letting me be part of your family. You earned your place here, Olivia. It wasn't handed to you. She turned to face him. Nathan, I need to tell you something. These past months, working with you, getting to know Emma, being part of your lives, it's become the best part of my day, and I think it's become more than just friendship for me. Nathan's heart hammered. Olivia, I know it's complicated. I know what I did to you. I'm not asking for anything. I just needed to be honest. Nathan looked at this woman who'd destroyed his life and then helped rebuild it into something better. He thought about Emma's insistence that Ms. Vale should be part of their family. He thought about late nights working together, about shared laughter, about the way his heart jumped whenever she smiled. It is complicated, Nathan said slowly, but maybe that's okay. Maybe the best things come from complicated places. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm not sure what this is between us, but I'd like to find out. Slowly, carefully, with Emma's well-being as the first priority. Olivia's face lit up. I can do slow and careful. Good, because I've got a 7-year-old matchmaker in there who's going to be insufferable when she finds out she was right. They both laughed, and then somehow they were holding hands, and it felt right in a way Nathan hadn't expected. Emma appeared at the door with hot chocolate. Are you guys having a moment, Mrs. Henderson says adults need private moments sometimes. We're having a moment, Nathan confirmed. Come here, sunshine. Emma joined them on the porch, and the three of them stood watching snow fall over their backyard, while Charlie barked at snowflakes inside. Spring brought a wedding, small and simple, held in the same park where Olivia had apologized to Emma almost 2 years earlier. Just close friends and family. Emma was the maid of honor, taking her duties very seriously. Charlie wore a bow tie and managed not to eat the cake. Carol cried through the entire ceremony. Marcus gave a speech about second chances and choosing hope over bitterness. Emma read a poem she'd written about families being built from love instead of just blood. When Nathan and Olivia exchanged vows, they didn't pretend their history hadn't been painful. They acknowledged the hurt, the mistakes, the long road to trust. But they also promised to keep choosing each other, to keep building something better, to keep believing that broken things could be made whole. After the ceremony, Emma pulled them both aside. I have something to say, and it's really important. She looked at them with unusual seriousness. I forgave you a long time ago, Ms. Vale. Now you're officially my mom, too. But I need you to know that my first mom, Sarah, she's still my mom in my heart. You're not replacing her. You're just adding more love. Is that okay? Olivia knelt down to Emma's level, tears streaming down her face. That's more than okay, sweetheart. Your mom, Sarah, will always be your mom. I'm just lucky to get to be part of your story, too. Emma hugged them both. Good. Because I have a lot of love, and there's room for everyone. Years later, when people asked Nathan how he survived the worst period of his life, he'd tell them about a 7-year-old girl who never stopped believing in him. About a mother-in-law who learned to forgive herself. About coworkers who stood by him when it would have been easier to look away. About a woman who made a terrible mistake and spent years proving she could be better. He'd tell them that redemption wasn't a moment. It was 1,000 small choices made every day. That forgiveness didn't mean forgetting, but it did mean refusing to let the past steal your future. That sometimes the people who hurt you the most could become the ones who help heal you, if everyone involved was willing to do the hard work. Most importantly, he'd tell them that broken things didn't have to stay broken. that families could be built from wreckage, that love could grow in the spaces where hatred used to live. Because Nathan Hayes had learned the hardest lesson life could teach, that the human capacity for change was greater than the human capacity for cruelty. That given enough time, enough honesty, enough willingness to show up imperfectly but sincerely, even the deepest wounds could scar over into something bearable. He'd learned it from his daughter, who saw the world with eyes unclouded by cynicism, from his late wife, whose memory taught him that love persisted beyond death, from a CEO who'd been willing to sacrifice her pride for the truth, and from himself, when he'd chosen to rebuild instead of remaining bitter. The story that had started with public humiliation and tears ended with a blended family built on honesty, a company transformed by accountability, and the simple, radical belief that people deserved second chances, even when they didn't deserve them, especially when they didn't deserve them, because that's what made the second chances mean something.